Chapter 1864. The moment these strong masters appeared, Jing stood in the air. Chao Tianji looked solemn. Li Daxian also came with a black cloak. Ren Tianfei also came out of the central holy city, and came in person. At this time, someone needed to stabilize the situation. With a flash, Tang Yen appeared in everyone's sight with a knife on his shoulder. Luo Xiaobai breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the Yinyang heaven still had some power. Otherwise, she really didn't know what to do at this time. Just when Luo Xiaobai was about to say something, Han Fei spoke first. He said, "Guys from the Forest of Horrors, you've just come out of the cage and you're already attacking us? Are you going to start a war?" A clear voice rang out. In the sky, the tentacles of the dragon octopus tree wriggled. Ziluo's petite body slid down from the vine. The two sides were thousands of kilometers apart. Ziluo said contemptuously, "There are so many people. Why are you here?" Han Fei said leisurely, "In terms of knowledge about the cage, I'm qualified. If I'm not mistaken, you are Ziluo, right?" Ziluo, the dragon octopus tree, and the others were all surprised. How could someone recognize them when they just came out? Han Fei said with a smile, "Dragon octopus tree, serpent vine, sea bamboo man, void vine, Ziluo, thousand dragons, seven-color sponge. I don't think I'm wrong." On the human side, everyone also looked at Han Fei. Anyone who was familiar with Han Fei knew that Han Fei was going to start bluffing them. Of course, Luo Xiaobai hoped that Han Fei could bluff them as long as possible. Ziluo couldn't help asking, "How do you know us? Some of us don't even come out of the Forest of Horrors and don't even know about the Demon Beast Alliance. There's no reason for you to know us." Han Fei said with a smile, "There's no reason for me to know you. However, someone told me in advance. If I meet you, I'll ask you to find a way to help him in the waterwood heaven." The sea bamboo man narrowed his eyes and said, "Who is this person you're talking about?" Han Fei said, "This person is naturally the Blood King. Now, the Blood King is leading a group of people to fight against the White Shell Royal City of the Waterwood Heaven. You should know the Yinyang Heaven and the Waterwood Heaven, right? We're on good terms. I can't lie to you about this. If I'm lying to you, it won't take more than a few days for a few of you to go to Shuemu Heaven to take a look. You'll know the credibility of my words." "Blood King." Ziluo could not help but say suspiciously, "The Blood King has something to say to you? You're just a beginner venerable?" Han Fei smiled faintly. "I'm a junior venerable? My name is Han Fei, a peak-level half-king and the former supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island. What you see is only my avatar. My main body is still in Waterwood Heaven. Why can't I speak? Otherwise, do you think that the great half-monarchs on my side are all fools?" Ziluo's mind stirred, but she did not turn around. Instead, she said, "Continue. What else did the Blood King say to you?" Han Fei said, "In the Waterwood Heaven, the Blood King's Blood Sea Divine Wood City and the Life Queen's Cloud Sea Divine Tree have formed an alliance and are attacking the White Shell capital. However, a day ago, the cage on Shuemu Heaven's side split open, and a large number of experts rushed out. Have you heard of the Monster Beast Alliance? As soon as they came out, they fought with us. It seems that they have a grudge against your Forest of Horrors. However, the Shuemu Heaven is the land of demonic plants and sea demons. Now that the Monster Beast Alliance has appeared, it's completely messed up. A few hours ago, I just returned from the Shuemu Heaven. The Blood King mentioned that if the demonic plants of the Forest of Horrors are not in the Shuemu Heaven, they must have come to the Yinyang Heaven. He said that the cage should be rotating, and it is impossible to accurately locate where you came out." Han Fei's saliva was flying everywhere. Luo Xiaobai subconsciously shut her mouth. Everyone showed a look of trust on their faces. Although they all admired Han Fei from the bottom of their hearts. Han Fei's bragging skills had already been perfected. He had forcefully tricked a group of experts into becoming crippled. and Han Fei actually knew that Ziluo and the others did not trust the Blood King very much. However, they did not completely deny the Blood King. After all, the Blood King was once the fake king of their forest of horrors. Han Fei was even prepared to let them send someone over to take a look. That was why Han Fei had brought forward the opening time of the cage on the Shuemu Heaven's side. That was the only way he could use the passage as an excuse to tell them that it would take a day to travel from the Inyang Heaven to the Shuemu Heaven. Just like that, the round trip took 2 days. He could at least buy Inyang Heaven 2 days. Ziluo said, "Since you understand the Forest of Horrors and the Blood King so well, I'll believe you for now. But what's going on with you humans? Why do they all look like they're running for their lives?" Han Fei said, "It doesn't look like he's running for his life, but he has been running for his life." This news similarly came from the Blood King. Because only the Monster Beast Alliance existed in the Shuemu Heavens. Therefore, the Blood King was certain that Black Blood City's Black Killer King would come to the Inyang Heaven. He said that it was because of the Demon Beast Alliance and Black Blood City, in that Valley of Death or something. Ziluo reminded, "It's the Life and Death Gorge." Smack. Han Fei patted his head and said, "Yes, the Life and Death Gorge." It was said that the Demon Beast Alliance and Black Blood City were in a standoff at Life and Death Gorge. According to the location, the sea demons of Black Blood City will appear in the Inyang Heaven. Do you think that if Black Blood City comes, the Inyang Heaven should run to protect the bloodline of the human race? Hearing this, Ziluo and the others realized that Han Fei's understanding of the situation in the cage was obviously correct. This could only have been told to him by others. Otherwise, how could he know? It was even more impossible for Han Fei to be someone who came out of a cage. They had been in the cage for tens of thousands of years. Except for the Blood King, no one had ever escaped. Han Fei was just a piece of cake. Even if his real body was here, he was just a half-king. Although a half-king was strong, he wouldn't be able to come out of the cage. Haiju said, "That is to say, Black Blood City will appear in the Inyang Heaven?" Han Fei said, "At present they haven't appeared. So, I'm not sure about this. But everyone, the human race, the Cloud Sea Divine Tree, and the Blood King have formed an alliance." What's wrong with forming an alliance? The cage has been broken. The vast land of the Inyang Heaven can be shared with the demonic plant clan in the future. Look over there. That's the land demonic plants of the Inyang Heaven. Heavenly Vine, Sky-inspecting Sword Hemp, Nine-headed Snake Grass, and Heavenly Red Hibiscus get along very well with the human race. Ziluo and the others had just come out, but knowing that Black Blood City might also come to the Inyang Heaven, some people felt very uncomfortable. Qianlong was the first to say to Ziluo and Haiju, "I think we can trust this kid for the time being. After all, if they deceive us, he knows how serious the consequences will be. If Black Blood City really comes, it means that the Black Killer Snail King is about to come out. Our relationship with Black Blood City has weakened a lot these days. Last time, the snail soul came to find me and was repulsed. It's probably already angry. They even have a false king. I'm afraid we have to either ally with them or go to the Waterwood Heaven." Ziluo said, "We won't go to the Waterwood Heaven. Look at those people lining up and walking into the mountains. That should be the channel between the Inyang Heaven and the Waterwood Heaven. We've just come out. Are we going to run away because we're afraid of Black Blood City?" Qianlong said, "The point is, the Black Killer Snail King is a false king." Haiju said, "A false king is actually not that scary. Like us, he can't touch us even if we pay 3 or even 4 half-kings. The point is, why should we cooperate with human beings? We're outsiders and they're natives. If we ally with them now, won't we be helping them fight the Black Killer Snail King?" Ziluo nodded. "This alliance is unnecessary. Why don't we see if the Black Killer Snail King will come first?" On Han Fei's side, when Han Fei tricked these people, Luo Xiaobai and the others had already understood. Han Fei had bought them 2 days. In these 2 days, they needed to move as many people from the yin-yang heaven as possible. Also, in this situation, they had to stall the other party first. However, with his silver tongue, Han Fei had just negotiated with this wave of demonic plants. Suddenly, Tang Yen said, "The people of Black Blood City are coming." Hiss! Everyone's expression changed drastically, including Han Fei's. Han Fei exclaimed, "So fast?" On the other side, Ziluo was also intrigued. "Void Vine, let's go and have a look as fast as possible." The speed of the Void Vine could be said to be the fastest here. Besides, his body feature was that he could communicate with others even if they were 1,000,000 kilometers apart. Therefore, in less than 10 minutes, the Void Vine said in shock, "They're here indeed. The Black Killer Snail King, Yu Tianai, and the Snail Soul. No, we have to go." This time, Han Fei's face turned green. He could persuade the people of the Forest of Horrors. That was because the demonic plants of the Forest of Horrors didn't know anything about the outside world. However, Black Blood City was different. The Black Killer Snail King had fought his way in. Besides, Han Fei clearly knew that this guy was at the level of a false king. He could stall at least 3 half-kings on Han Fei's side by himself. Not to mention the half-kings like the Snail Soul and Yu Tianai. Han Fei didn't have enough people on his side. Unless the people of the Forest of Horrors were willing to help. At this moment, Han Fei couldn't care less. Han Fei immediately looked at Ziluo and the others. "Everyone, we humans have always been close to the demonic plant. Are you really going to leave us to die?" Ziluo pondered for a moment, when Qianlong suddenly said to her via voice transmission, "Ziluo, don't be so easily swayed. You women are the most emotional. We can't form an alliance. We can't afford to offend the Black Killer Snail King." Qianlong said, "No. The Forest of Horrors has nothing to do with the yin-yang heavenly human race. Why should we help you? Besides, the Black Killer Snail King is at the level of a false king. I advise you to protect yourselves instead of thinking about how to protect these people. You should know that it's only 10 minutes for a king to travel this distance." Haizhu immediately shouted, "Let's go. Let's go somewhere else and see what's going on first." The Black Killer Snail King came as it pleased. Haizhu and Qianlong had already made a decision. Even if they had to fight the Black Killer Snail King, now was not the time. The people of the Forest of Horrors hadn't arrived yet. Besides, the experts of the Forest of Horrors were fewer than those of Black Blood City. Han Fei's face was gloomy. He didn't expect the Forest of Horrors to help. In this case, if it were him, he wouldn't help. Han Fei was thinking, do we have to sacrifice ourselves to save mankind? Why not save ourselves and revive the human race in the future? While Han Fei was in a dilemma, he suddenly sensed something different. Information was synchronizing in his mind. Hiss! Han Fei immediately curled the corner of his mouth. He looked at Luo Xiaobai and chuckled. "Xiaobai, I have to say that you are really a genius." Luo Xiaobai was dumbfounded. Over 10 breaths later, a furious roar echoed across the heavens and earth. The voice roared, "Han Fei, come out!" While everyone was shocked, Han Fei stepped forward and stood proudly in the sky. "Black Killer Snail, why are you calling me Grandpa?" Chapter 1865. Facing a pseudo-king-level powerhouse, Han Fei retorted with an arrogant and domineering curse. Even Luo Xiaobai was mesmerized. The corners of Tang Yen, Chao Tianji, and the others' mouths twitched. They thought to themselves, "Are you asking for trouble?" Li Daxian couldn't help but say, "You brat, why are you shouting so loudly? The question now is, should we run? Why are you shouting?" Ren Tianfei said with a black face, "Han Fei, do you have a solution or not? If that pseudo-king is like what you described, I can fight him. Why didn't you go to the central holy city and treat me when you left? Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. Believe it or not, I can defeat them all by myself." Han Fei rolled his eyes. "Stop bragging. It's enough that you can hold off the Black Conch King for me. Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang looked at each other and came to Han Fei's side. The two of them didn't need to say anything, but in terms of actions, they were actually saying, "Brother, let's retreat." For these people from the Thug Academy, the human race was not extinct. However, where there was life, there was hope. It was not wise to fight head-on. Ziluo, Qianlong, and the others, who had just left, were speechless when they heard Han Fei's words. Ziluo was speechless. Are all humans so stubborn? The Black Conch King is a pseudo-king after all. There were dozens of half-king realm powerhouses in Black Blood City. No matter what, it was impossible for a few half-monarchs to block it. Qianlong said, "After all, there are no pseudo-king realm powerhouses in our group. We have just come out and haven't had a good day yet. If we rashly form an alliance with humans, it would be unwise to completely fall out with Black Blood City." Haizhu said, "On the human side there are too few venerables. Most of them are still relatively weak. If the Black Conch King brings the entire Black Blood City over, even if we form an alliance, we won't be able to stop him. Now we have to wait for the follow-up powerhouses to arrive. Only then will we be able to stand up to Black Blood City as equals." Han Fei said, "Old Ren, take us to 10,000 kilometers away and snipe the enemy." Ren Tianfei was speechless. "Are you crazy? You're just an avatar. Don't you know what you're capable of?" Li Daxian also said, "Han Fei, now is not the time to show off. If the other side has too many experts, we won't be able to stop them." Han Fei said, "Take me there, so hurry up. This place is too close to the Scattered Stars Island. Once the war starts, it's inevitable that innocent people will be implicated. Don't worry, would I do something I'm not confident in?" Luo Xiaobai knew Han Fei's personality. If he had no choice, he wouldn't give up his life here. In other words, none of them would give up their lives here. The enemy was strong, but he just lacked the time to grow. In the future, he might have the opportunity to do so. However, from that moment, Luo Xiaobai clearly felt that Han Fei had changed. Among the crowd, Tang Ji's heart trembled. For some reason, his natal sword embryo suddenly moved. He seemed to have sensed something. Ren Tianfei immediately sighed and waved his hand. Everyone was wrapped up. In less than half a second, they appeared 10,000 kilometers away. As soon as everyone stood still, they saw a mountain-like huge black conch in the sky, raising boundless black clouds. Behind it, a murderous aura surged and rushed all the way. "Ha ha! Han Fei, when you joined forces with the Demon Beast Alliance and the immortal city of the human race to plot against me, did you ever think that the cage would break today?" The Black Conch King's roar was heard by everyone within hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Ziluo and the others, who had just left the Scattered Stars Island, were all speechless. Long Zhangshu said, "Why do I feel that kid was bragging just now?" Mandashi said, "It doesn't seem like it. He was bragging. That kid bragged to the heavens, talking about the Blood King and knowing us. Could it be that this guy has been to the prison before?" Sea Bamboo said, "When the Demon Beast Alliance and the immortal city of the human race schemed against the Black Blood City, it was only a few years ago. If that kid has appeared in the cage, how did he get out?" Ziluo said with a black face, "No matter how he got out, judging from the hatred on the Black Conch King's face, he hates this kid very much." Qianlong shouted in a low voice, "Damn little thief, how dare he deceive us? If it weren't for the Black Conch King, we would have been fooled by him. This kid is up to no good. He should be killed." Ziluo said, "Now, it's not your turn to kill him. Now that I think about it, this kid is probably stalling for time, right? Maybe it's to keep us in check." Sea Bamboo said, "That's right. Let's wait and see." On the Scattered Stars Island, hundreds of millions of people were speechless. Has this person been schemed against by Marshal Han? At this moment, Han Fei glanced at Luo Xiaobai. "Open the sky curtain." Luo Xiaobai frowned slightly. However, since Han Fei dared to come, he must have something to rely on. Thinking about what Han Fei said to her just now, Luo Xiaobai suddenly raised her eyebrows. Has Han Fei's original body returned? But that's not right. Just now, Han Fei said that his original body sent 2 knives and a memory back to his clone, saying that his original body had died. However, no matter what, since Han Fei had something to rely on, the sky curtain was naturally opened. As soon as the sky curtain opened, hundreds of millions of people above the scattered stars island raised their heads, looked at Luo Xiaobai and the others standing proudly in the air, and then looked at the mountain giant conch opposite. They were all horrified. Someone sighed. It's over. How can we fight them? Someone was speechless. Now, why don't we open the sky-hanging mirror? Do we have to witness their death? The students of the Thug Academy had already gathered at the Empyrean waterfall, all looking solemn. The young ones had all grown up now. Wang Dashui, Bai Lu, Jiang Qin, Wenren Yu, Chu Jinan, Yi Xian, and the others were all looking forward to it. Yi Xian said, "Senior brothers and senior sisters, why are you still gathering over there? Shouldn't you be running away now?" Wang Dashui also scratched his head. "Junior brother Han Fei, you're a little reckless. With so few people, we obviously can't beat them." Jiang Qin said, "Be prepared. Once something goes wrong, everyone immediately enter the passage between the 2 worlds and go to the Waterwood world." Su Daji clenched her little fists and said, "Senior brother will definitely win." Everyone rolled their eyes. Senior brother is indeed powerful. However, senior brother is just a clone. If his real body is here, we believe that he can win. But his real body isn't here, right? Chu Jinan said, "If senior brother Han Fei's real body were here, even a king wouldn't dare to be so arrogant." Outside the scattered stars island, the Black Shura Conch King led everyone to stop. The 2 sides were thousands of kilometers apart. However, there were probably more than 10 half-kings gathered on the Black Shura Conch King's side. Han Fei only knew Li Santong, Tu Go, Conch Hun, Yu Tianai, Zhang Wuming, and others. Behind the Black Shura Conch King, there were many venerables, peak-level venerables and advanced venerables. The Black Shura Conch King chuckled. "Han Fei, is this how you welcome me?" Han Fei sneered. "Who do you think you are? How dare you call yourself a king in front of me? You're just a fake king. Believe it or not, I can pierce through your disguise with 2 fingers." Everyone was speechless. Of all the times to brag, why did you have to brag now? Are you kidding me? Even the people from the scattered stars island couldn't stand it anymore. Someone was speechless. Is Marshal Han kidding? He left a clone here and still wants to poke the Black Shura Conch King? Someone said, "That guy is probably the real body of the Black Shura Conch King. It's said that he's a king." Someone said disdainfully, "What king? Marshal Han just said that he's a fake king." Back then, Old Monster Truman also claimed to be a king, but wasn't he defeated by Han Fei? Someone sighed. "I wonder if Marshal Han has any trump cards?" Someone shook his head. "If he does, Marshal Han wouldn't have ordered us to move as a whole. But if he's just bluffing, how long can he last?" At this moment, above the sea, the Black Shura Conch King sneered. He glanced at the scattered stars island and said in a heavy voice, "If I had known this, I wouldn't have taken action." Why are the people of the scattered stars island running away? Behind the Black Shura Conch King, Conch Hun sneered. "It's not just the scattered stars island that wants to escape. I'm afraid that the whole Inyang world will flee when they know that we are here. Look, the teleportation arrays are sending people here continuously." The Black Shura Conch King chuckled. "This Inyang world belongs to the Black Blood City after all. It's meaningless to kill these ant-like humans. Watch me break your bones to avenge the hatred in my heart." He laughed out loud. "Han Fei, today, you can try the power of my attack again. What do you think?" Han Fei took a step forward. "Okay. I'll let you know that a fake king is as insignificant as an ant to me." Insignificant? Heh, you're just bragging. The Black Shura Conch King didn't even transform into a human form, but casually spat out a black light from his conch. He smiled and said, "Look at your level, a junior venerable. Are you just a clone?" Hey, a black light flashed across the sky, thousands of kilometers in an instant. Ren Tianfei and the others were about to attack when Han Fei said, "Don't stand there. Let me do it." Ah, Marshal Han. Han Fei. Dodge. On the entire scattered Stars Island, hundreds of millions of people exclaimed. Ren Tianfei, Li Daxian, and the others were already prepared. Although they didn't know why Han Fei was doing this, they were still shocked. How could they really let Han Fei be hit? However, in an instant, Han Fei's figure flashed, and a terrifying pressure descended between heaven and earth. Han Fei slowly stretched out 2 fingers and shouted in a thunderous voice, "Great Tao in one sword." Chapter 1866. This was the strongest sword strike that Han Fei had comprehended so far. To put it bluntly, this sword strike contained all of Han Fei's current understanding of the laws. Even if Han Fei didn't use the power of the laws, his own strength was comparable to the so-called kings who had just entered the Pioneer Sea realm, not to mention that the Black Killer Snail King was still far away from the Pioneer Sea realm. As soon as this sword strike was launched, the sun and the moon lost their light, and the waves of the sea suddenly calmed down. The tip of the sword was divided by Han Fei's fingertips. It seemed that Han Fei had attracted the entire sea in front of him. The moment the sword light appeared, the soul of the Black Killer Snail King trembled. How is this possible? Spiral sky black curtain, 9 layers of spiral curse. The Black Killer Snail King was horrified. Who could block this sword strike? How could Han Fei be so strong? However, this was a locking technique. What else could he do besides using his strongest shield to block the attack? As for the half-king realm powerhouses behind the Black Killer Snail King, they were all dumbfounded. Damn, is this still the weak fish in the beginner venerable realm? In the Heavenly Sword sect, the master of the Heavenly Sword exclaimed, "Divine swordsmanship? So strong. This sword strike can't be cracked at all. The sharpness of the sword, the dominating momentum in the world, is undeniable." Zhang Xuanyu howled, "Damn, where did Han Fei learn such a powerful swordsmanship? I thought he didn't play with swords?" Ren Tianfei couldn't help but take a breath. Is this kid already so strong? I'm afraid he's much stronger than the sacrificing punch that I created, isn't he? Li Daxian noticed that at that moment Han Fei's figure flickered, which made him realize that Han Fei was different. Now it seemed that Han Fei's original body had returned. However, Han Fei was too strong. To put it bluntly, Li Daxian felt that, except for Ren Tianfei, no one here could withstand Han Fei's sword strike. Li Daxian couldn't help but laugh. Our Chunyang sect has a peerless genius. Chao Tianji and Tang Yen were horrified. Is this Han Fei's current strength? When did this kid come back? If he had come back, why didn't he show up earlier? Luo Xiaobai had to make the decision to relocate the entire Yin-Yang heaven. Jing didn't have the temperament of a half-king, so she shouted, "Han Fei, when did you come back? This sword is so powerful." In the distance, the demi-monarchs of the Forest of Terror who were watching the battle were all dumbfounded. Crack, crack, crack in front of the Black Killer Snail King, countless snail shadows appeared. Countless conches formed a shield wall. Like floating spells, they tried to block Han Fei's sword. However, all of this was futile before the Grand Convergence sword. In an instant, the densely packed conch shadows vanished without a trace. What about the conspiracy in Spiral Sky? It was an incomparably huge black shadow of a giant snail. Did he think he could block his sword with this thing? Han Fei couldn't help but sneer. With a crack, that whatever it was, the conch shadow directly shattered with a loud bang. At that moment of life and death, how could the Black Killer Snail care about anything else? With a burst of speed, he grabbed the dumbfounded snail soul and threw it in front of him. Poochie! The snail soul also had a snail body, and its defense power was extremely strong. However, this resistance, which was too much for the Black Killer Snail King to handle, did not even give the snail spirit a chance to curse before it was shattered into pieces. Seeing that the snail soul couldn't even block it for a second at that time, he felt as if his heart was bleeding, and he took out a broken armor. However, Han Fei's voice was unhurried. "You want to block me with a broken sea quelling bizarre treasure? Black Killer Snail, do you think I'm playing with you?" Clang puff. Before the broken sea quelling bizarre treasure was broken, the Black Killer Snail King was already covered in blood. His black conch armor was instantly covered with crack. Crack. Bam. Although the Black Killer Snail King was a pseudo-king, its real combat ability was even lower than Xia Xiaochan's. With Xia Xiaochan's current ability, she could be considered a pseudo-king. It was absolutely not a problem for her to fight against two Black Killer Snail Kings. Bam! The sword disappeared, and the Black Killer Snail King's body was torn into pieces. Rumble, rumble in the sky, two cracks appeared in a row. Hiss! Yu Tianai, Li Santong, and the others were dumbfounded. They were all dumbfounded. Just like that, my king couldn't even resist the power of Han Fei's sword and was killed? On the other side of the Forest of Horrors, all the demonic plants were trembling. Giant Snake Man said, "How about we go back to the cage? I think it's safer to stay in the cage." Long Zhongshu asked, "Wasn't that man a junior venerable just now? How come he's so strong now?" Ziluo said, "This man. He's so strong. Why did he trick us? Even the Black Killer Snail King couldn't resist his sword. Is he kidding us?" Qianlong said, "Did he just want to test if we are willing to ally with human beings? Oh no, we refuse their request. Will he hold a grudge against us?" Just now, Qianlong thought that Han Fei lied to them and wanted to kill him. Now it seemed that there was no point. They would be lucky if they didn't get killed. Hai Zhuren shook his head and said, "This man made it clear just now that he's just an incarnation. He said that his real body is in the water-wood heaven. Maybe he just made up a bunch of excuses to delay us, fearing that we would attack the human race. Fortunately, we didn't attack them. Otherwise, I'm afraid we would all be dead now." Qianlong asked, "Should we run?" Ziluo asked, "Where?" "The cage has been broken. It's useless to run away. I think we should ask for an alliance before we go far. What do you think?" Hai Zhuren nodded. "I think so." Giant Snake Man said, "We just embarrass them. How can we go back and ask for an alliance? Will they agree?" Hai Zhuren asked, "Then do you have a better way? Anyway, our Forest of Horrors has never been hostile to human beings. Otherwise, with our current strength, where do you think we can go?" At this moment, on the Scattered Stars Island, hundreds of millions of people were dumbfounded. In the Transverse Mountain, someone came back to his senses and shouted, "Hurry up and go into the channel between the two worlds." Someone immediately scolded, "Go? General Han is back. Didn't you see it?" With a swoosh, two great Dao cracks appeared. The Black Killer Snail King was destroyed. "Didn't you see it?" Someone exclaimed, "F***CK, is General Han still a human being?" Someone shouted, "General Han is back. Welcome back, General Han." "Thank you, General Han. General Han is invincible." Roar! At this moment, the entire Scattered Stars Island was boiling. It was joy and pride from the bottom of their hearts. "I have General Han. Who dares to touch the human race?" Above the Empyrean waterfall. Gulp. Chu Jinan swallowed and said, "How did Senior Brother Han become so strong?" Ling Yuan nodded. "He has always been strong. Although I didn't see this sword strike clearly, it's really powerful." Yi Xian even jumped up, hugged Daji and shouted, "Senior Brother is back. Senior Brother is so awesome." Su Daji nodded. "Senior Brother is invincible." Wenren Yu, Xiao Zhan, Jiang Qin, and the others all had mixed feelings at this moment. Xiao Zhan smiled bitterly. "Me. I know there is a talent gap between me and this kid. But now it seems that the gap is really big. Wenren shook her head slightly. I don't understand. At this moment, on the battlefield, on the side of Black Blood City, countless people were trembling. Li Santong felt that his soul was trembling. What are you looking at? Run. Swish. 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 The demi-kings were so scared that they almost peed their pants. How many years has the Black Killer Snail King been in charge of Black Blood City? However, he came to the Inyang heaven and was gone in less than 2 hours? Who would be able to withstand this? However, they were already here. Did they still want to run away? Wouldn't that be a joke? Swish, swish, swish above the sky, threads flashed past one after another. Buzz. Crack. Puff. No one could see them at all, mainly because the speed of the sharp light was too fast. It was so fast that except for the demi-kings, almost no one could see the figure appearing in the sky. Puff, 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 boom, 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 above the sky, 6 or 7 cracks appeared in a row. Some demi-kings were killed before they could run 10,000 kilometers. Han Fei glanced at Luo Xiaobai, Zhang Xuanyu, and Lu Renquang. Guess who's coming? A giant arowana larger than a cloud whale appeared, and a slender figure in a red and white battle suit, holding 2 daggers, stood proudly on the head of the fish. In an instant, Lu Renquang's surprised face changed from shock to astonishment, and then he smiled and shouted. Xia Xiaochan. Zhang Xuanyu waved his hand and shouted, Xiaochan, here. Here Luo Xiaobai's cold face also showed a gratified smile at this moment. She was finally back. At the top of the Empyrean waterfall, Chu Jinan exclaimed, Is it senior sister Xia Xiaochan? Ling Yuan was shocked. Senior brother, did you find senior sister Xia Xiaochan? Guqi said, Is this the senior sister Xia Xiaochan you've been talking about? She's so strong. Standing with the people of the Thug Academy, Jiuyin Ling stared at Xia Xiaochan and said in a voice that only she could hear, Is she the obsession in your heart? At this moment, Xia Xiaochan's voice came into their ears. Let's talk about it after this battle. Han Fei smiled. Yes, let's do it. Chao Tianji's eyelids twitched. Kill our way out. In the distance, the cloud whale flew out of the clouds, and Tang Yen disappeared without a trace. Han Fei strode thousands of kilometers away with a step. With a hum, a giant more than 50 meters tall and covered in a bloody aura appeared. As soon as this giant appeared, Chao Tianji was dumbfounded. Damn it, why does it look more awesome than the phantom of the god of war? As for the hundreds of millions of people on the scattered stars island, how could they care so much? There was a burst of wild roars. In the streets and alleys, in the wilderness, who could hear what everyone was shouting? It could be said that the entire scattered stars island was filled with wild roars. Chapter 1867. As soon as Han Fei made a move, everyone's focus was on him. After all, everyone could only see the giant's attack, because he was too dazzling. In fact, at this moment, the blood rain was all over the sky, like a waterfall, and the people on the island could hardly see the sky clearly, because the blood rain was too dense. Xia Xiaochan was fine. She was too fast, so she hunted more venerables. But Han Fei was different. As long as he caught up with them, he could kill them with one punch. No one could resist his blow. As for the blood rebirth, it was a joke. Even if he killed the venerables, he didn't need the help of the void lines, because they couldn't see clearly what was happening on the sea. Therefore, the billions of people on the scattered stars island judged the number of venerables killed by Han Fei and the others according to the number of cracks 26, 27, 35, 46 above the sky. Every time a crack appeared, the billions of people on the scattered stars island would shout in unison. Some people even shouted until their throats were hoarse. Besides, the cracks above the sky were getting shallower and shallower. This meant that Han Fei and the others were fighting farther and farther away. In the end, this number was shouted 87 times before it stopped. Why 87 times? The reason why it was 87 times was because Han Fei and the others had killed the Venerables. The other Venerables had enough time to escape. As for the direction of their escape, of course it was inside the cage. At this moment, the sea demons of Black Blood City went crazy. Who the hell knew it was so dangerous outside the cage? The Black Killer Snail King had always said that Han Fei was very weak. There were few Venerables in the outside world. How could he be weak? They had always thought that the cage was a place to trap them. But now it seemed that this was clearly a protective barrier to protect their survival. The Venerables could escape. But the explorers? They couldn't run so fast. However, Han Fei, Xia Shaochan, and the others didn't attack the explorer sea demons. It was meaningless for them to attack the explorers. It was of no help to the rise of the human race. At the moment when they reached the cage, Han Fei said, "Okay, stop chasing." All he had to do was to trap them in a cage. These sea monsters are the stepping stones for the rise of our human race. Don't kill them all now. Then where will the human race's future experts go to train? At this moment, only a few people were able to reach the edge of the wall of death in such a short period of time. However, Tang Yen said, "You have not become a king yet." Han Fei glanced at Tang Yen and chuckled. "Just because you haven't become a king doesn't mean you can't fight. Don't be obsessed with expanding your sea. Now is not the time." Chao Tianji thought to himself, "Luckily, I didn't show anything before. Otherwise, when facing Han Fei, it was hard to say whether he was a friend or a foe." Tranquility said casually, "Han Fei, is this your wife? How could he be so powerful? If I didn't know better, I would have thought that the two of you had expanded your seas." Xia Shaochan blushed slightly, but she immediately became vigilant. Isn't this woman too good-looking? Being able to attain the strength of a half-monarch in the yin-yang heaven was definitely not a simple feat, ha ha ha. Ren Tianfei laughed and flew over, asking, "Disciple, have you reached the sea expansion realm?" Seeing Ren Tianfei's messy hair, Han Fei was speechless. "Can't you tell that I've expanded my sea?" Han Fei said gloomily, "Don't flatter yourself." Ren Tianfei snorted. "What's wrong with admitting it? Come on, cast a divine technique on me. I've had a chronic disease in my body for a long time. Now you're as strong as a king. It's time." Ren Tianfei was making his presence known by calling him disciple, but Han Fei didn't care. Han Fei introduced him to Xia Shaochan. Old B** starred Ren Tianfei, the controller of the yin-yang heaven. Chao Tianji suddenly looked at Ren Tianfei. Is this guy the controller of the divine palace? He didn't know this until now. Han Fei said again, "Tang Yen has been hiding in the cloud whale to cultivate." Huh! Chao Tianji was stunned again. No wonder he didn't know where Tang Yen was hiding. He didn't expect that this guy had been hiding in the cloud whale. Han Fei looked at the man in a black robe and said, "This is the patriarch of the Thug Academy, immortally. He is the last strong master of the Pure Yang sect. Oh, by the way, he also has another identity, Chiu Lai, the owner of the Spectre boat in the Level 3 fishery." Junior uncle? Xia Shaochan thought to herself, "What has happened in the yin-yang heaven in the years I was away? So many people have appeared. I thought it was just junior uncle, but it turned out to be the patriarch of the Thug Academy. He's really good at hiding." Under the black robe, immortally revealed some immortal aura and smiled. "The Pure Yang sect has produced a talent of this generation. You used to be a little girl, but now you're amazing." Xia Shaochan said, "Nice to meet you, Patriarch." Finally, Han Fei looked at Peaceful and said, "This is Peaceful, the personal maid of the Life Queen of the Waterwood Divine Palace. She has mastered the great Tao of space and is very powerful." After all, Xia Shaochan had been a princess for decades. Her temperament and figure made her nod slightly. She had the bearing that a princess should have, but she didn't usually show it. Therefore, when Peaceful saw Xia Shaochan's etiquette to her, she couldn't help but be a little absent-minded. Just now, her temperament was not inferior to that of Her Majesty. This woman is not simple. At this moment, Han Fei glanced at Ren Tianfei and said, "Are you ready?" Ren Tianfei nodded. "Come on." Hum above the sky, a beam of light fell. Terrifying vitality and healing light instantly filled Ren Tianfei's body. From Ren Tianfei's throat, a low roar burst out. Han Fei could feel that there were a lot of internal injuries in Ren Tianfei's body. Even with his current understanding of the Great Way, after spending 200 years of vitality, he still couldn't heal half of this guy's injuries. And immortally, at the moment the heavenly awakening divine technique broke out, retreated 1,000 miles. He was horrified and said, "If this thing shines on me, I'll be half dead." Another heavenly awakening divine technique. This time, Han Fei directly injected 500 years of vitality into him. After half an hour, Ren Tianfei suddenly opened his eyes and shouted, "Nice, I'm going to make a breakthrough." Of course, Han Fei knew how difficult it was to make a breakthrough after cultivating the indestructible tyrant body. So, Han Fei directly threw out 10 dragon blood fruits, and 10,000 energy fruits floated in the air. Then, with a wave of his hand, millions of ultra-quality spiritual stones surrounded him. Seeing this, even Tang Yen couldn't help licking the corner of his mouth. Jinger was speechless. "How many resources have you cheated out of others?" Han Fei smiled and said, "Not many? I can make a fortune by robbing others in the outside world." Everyone. Han Fei thought to himself, Ren Tianfei's foundation is too deep, and this indestructible tyrant body was created by him. Therefore, this breakthrough was a sure thing. Han Fei didn't want to wait here. Han Fei said, "Ancestor, please keep an eye on him. I'll go back to the Scattered Stars Island first." Immortal Li nodded. "Go. You teachers and students don't get together much. This time, finally, everyone is here. It's time to have a good reunion." Half a day later, Luo Xiaobai opened the sky curtain and arranged for people to go to the 36 towns and the 1,000-star city. Finally, it was time to explain the cause and effect to the people. And Peaceful went back to the Shuemu heaven early in the morning to report the news. Along with her was Han Fei's incarnation. Since the Forest of Horrors and Black Blood City appeared in the Yin-Yang heaven, it was reasonable that the Demon Beast Alliance and the Human Clan's Immortal City should also appear in the Shuemu heaven. He knew both sides and could take care of them. And Han Fei's body appeared in the Thug Academy. At this time, a large group of people, large and small, old and young, surrounded a large table with a diameter of about 20 meters. This was a rotating round table that Han Fei had just made, mainly for convenience. Everyone sat in a circle and could chat while eating. However, unlike a normal round table, in the middle of this round table, there was a large pot with a diameter of 10 meters. In the pot, hot pot was cooking. At this moment, a group of people were eating and drinking happily. On Han Fei's left was Xia Shaochan, and on his right were Tang Gu and Mu Ling. Han Fei said, "Today, there are many secrets about the Yin-Yang heaven and the 36 mysterious heavens, but now there is no need to hide them anymore. This trip to the chaotic ocean made me realize that the sea expansion realm is the real beginning of the road of a strong master." Zhang Xuanyu immediately retorted, "Forget it. You've been saying that since you were a hidden fisher. Now that you're going to be a sea expansion realm cultivator, you've changed your mind." Lu Renquang nodded. "Yes, the two of us have been cultivating with star beads, but now we're only junior venerables. Compared to you, we're not even worth talking about." Han Fei shrugged. "My realm hasn't changed." Xia Shaochan interrupted, "Don't listen to his nonsense. His realm hasn't changed, but he's much stronger. In the chaotic ocean, I'm afraid he's already invincible among those in the same realm." Zhang Xuanyu echoed, "So powerful? Let's not talk about anything else. Let's talk about that sword strike of yours. You have to tell me about it later." Tang Gu couldn't help but interject, "That sword strike was too profound. I didn't understand it at all. Han Fei smiled and said, "Let's not talk about this. Compared with that sword strike, I have a lot of things to share with you." Han Fei was about to brag, when with a swish, the void trembled and Luo Xiaobai returned. "Ah Xiaobai, I missed you so much." Xia Shaochan flashed and hugged Luo Xiaobai. Luo Xiaobai's face softened and she quickly said, "Be gentle. You Valkyrie, don't accidentally crush me to death." Xia Shaochan was puzzled. "Valkyrie?" Luo Xiaobai chuckled and said, "You don't know yet, but now everyone on the Scattered Stars Island calls you Valkyrie. You killed multiple venerables alone. It's hard for you not to be famous." Luo Xiaobai was a little more talkative. She pulled Xia Shaochan to take a seat and said, "I talk so much outside that my saliva was dry. But here you are, eating and drinking. Don't you feel embarrassed?" Old Bai said leisurely, "Well, the capable are always busy. If we don't eat and drink, what else can we do?" Old Jiang nodded. "Fatty Lu and I are chef. We're very busy." At this moment, seeing everyone sitting around, Han Fei couldn't help but feel that all the hardships he had experienced were worth it at this moment. Chapter 1868. When the cage cracked, the spiritual energy and energy in the cage would naturally pour out. However, after all, the yin-yang heaven was so big. It would take at least a few years to double the spiritual energy and energy of the yin-yang heaven. It would take at least a few years or even longer. At this time, for the strong masters like Han Fei, they had actually felt the slight changes in the spiritual energy between heaven and earth. Luo Xiaobai said, "It seems that the cracking of the cage is not necessarily a bad thing." Thinking of what would happen after the cage was broken, Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. "But it's not that good." At the dinner table, Old Bai laughed and scolded, "Boy, why didn't you come back earlier? You only appeared when Luo Xiaobai ordered the entire yin-yang heaven to move. It's exciting, isn't it?" Han Fei shrugged. "It's good enough that I can catch up. Xiaobai and I had some guesses before. 2 years ago, the problem of the crack in the cage might have something to do with me. This time, the crack is very likely to be the same problem. Maybe because I entered and left the yin-yang heaven, some uncontrollable factors happened. That's why the cage is cracked. But fortunately, this crack is not too big now. According to this speed, the wall of death may not completely collapse in decades or even 100 years." Zhang Xuanyu asked, "What kind of dragon's pool and tiger's den is our yin-yang sky? Why is it so difficult to get in and out? By the way, how did you find Xia Shaochan after you went out?" Old Bai also looked at Xia Shaochan and said, "This girl has grown up and is not as naughty as before." Xia Shaochan blushed and said, "I didn't know that there would be so many students in our Thug Academy all of a sudden." Just when Han Fei was about to introduce Mu Qingchuan, Su Daiji, and the others to Xia Shaochan, with a swish, the Star Tortoise came to the Thug Academy. The Star Tortoise said, "Han Fei, 2 demonic plants have come. Do you want to see them?" With Han Fei's current perception, how could he not know that someone was coming? Han Fei said, "Let them wait. Look at how busy I am. I don't have time to talk to them." Now that he was strong, he had the confidence to speak. However, Luo Xiaobai still said, "You'd better go. There are many strong demonic plants in this forest of horror. It's not that we can't accept them. Furthermore, even though you are strong, the human race needs to be strengthened and protected. You can't just rely on the experts of the yin-yang heaven." Old Bai said, "Luo's words make sense. Although the Forest of Terror didn't ally with us, they didn't attack us either. Anyway, they're much better than the Black Killer King and the others." Han Fei shrugged and said, "Then I'll go. You guys eat first." Luo Xiaobai said, "I'll go with you." In the waters outside the Scattered Stars Island, the terrifying Forest Ziluo, Sea Bamboo Man, and Thousand Dragon had been waiting for a long time. Of course, they knew that with Han Fei's ability, he had long known that they were here. However, their identities had been swapped after all. With a powerhouse like Han Fei around, they wouldn't be safe even if they returned to the Forest of Horrors. Since that was the case, he might as well apologize and ask the humans to accept him. Although Han Fei was unbelievably strong, there were still too few ordinary venerables on the human side. Qianlong said, "I still feel like we're walking right into a trap." Sea Bamboo Man shook his head. "No. Look at this island. Hundreds of millions of humans have made breakthroughs in their cultivation when the blood rain falls. And when we first came, you could feel the thin spiritual energy here, which is totally different from that in the cage. In my opinion, humans need strong reinforcements and helpers." Ziluo nodded. "I agree. Look at these humans, their average strength is not even that of a hanging fisher. It can be said that except for a few strong masters, there are no strong masters, and there is an extreme lack of explorers. If all the forces in the cage come out and the strong masters don't take action, how can humans resist them? However, we can help them. Are you willing to help me, humans?" As soon as Ziluo said that, a man and a woman suddenly appeared in front of the three of them. Who else could it be but Han Fei? Ziluo and the other two were surprised. How could the three of them be heard by someone else? When they saw Han Fei again, they found that he was no longer a weak junior venerable. If he didn't say anything, they would think that he had become a king. When Han Fei and Luo Xiaobai appeared, Shueishenqi and Chen San were already here. However, obviously, the affairs of the Yinyang heaven could only be handled by Han Fei now. Shueishenqi couldn't deal with a strong master of this level. When the three of them saw Han Fei, they didn't put on airs and cup their hands. Sea Bamboo Man said, "Just now, the Forest of Terror was blind. But please rest assured, the Forest of Terror is different from the Black Blood City. We are not interested in killing. We are just demonic plants. If possible, the Forest of Terror is willing to ally with humans, just to occupy a place of survival in the Yinyang heaven." Han Fei smiled and said, "First of all, don't call me Your Excellency. My name is Han Fei, the Master of the Yinyang Heaven Palace. You can call me the Ninth Immortal Master. Also, it's not an alliance but a surrender. The Forest of Terror will surrender to the human race and slowly become a part of the Yinyang Heaven, not the so-called alliance. You are not qualified." At this moment, Han Fei's words were very tough. "Now you want to form an alliance? Did I give you face?" Qianlong and the other two people's faces immediately darkened. Han Fei said coldly, "To tell you the truth, what I said just now was just something I made up to fool you because my real body hasn't returned yet. The so-called Blood King and the entire Blood Sea Divine Wood City have been flattened by this immortal master. By the way, a few years ago, the Blood King tricked you to leave the Forest of Terror, but you didn't go. Everyone who went was parasitized and devoured by the Blood King. Speaking of which, I am the benefactor of your Forest of Terror. If I hadn't killed the Blood King, once he becomes a king, none of your people would have survived." Ziluo, Sea Bamboo Man, Qianlong. Han Fei's words caused huge waves in the hearts of the three of them, because from the beginning, they didn't think the Blood King was a good person. That was why they didn't choose to go with the Blood King. As for the thing that Han Fei tricked them just now, the three of them directly ignored it. They had already understood what was going on. However, the thing about the Blood King did make them shiver, because Han Fei didn't have to deceive them at all. The Yinyang Heaven and the Waterwood Heaven were connected, so there would be an answer sooner or later. Besides, with Han Fei's strength, there was no need to deceive them anymore. At this moment, Han Fei raised his eyebrows and glanced at the three of them. "Since you're here, you should know that you only have one chance. Either submit or die. There is no third choice." The three of them looked at each other at this moment. Although they wanted to refute him, they didn't dare. Han Fei chuckled. "I'm not an unkind person. I'll give you 3 days to inform the other demon plants in the Forest of Terror. Give me an answer in 3 days." Sea Bamboo Man, Thank you, ninth immortal master. Then the three of them looked at each other and left one after another. Luo Xiaobai said, You said before that although the Forest of Terror is not as strong as the Black Blood City and the Demon Beast Alliance, it's not weak. Once we completely take them in, we need to have the capital to keep an eye on them. At present, the only person who can keep an eye on them is you. At this moment, Shueishenqi stepped forward and echoed, Yes. To suppress the demon plants, we still need to strengthen ourselves. At present, there are still too few strong masters in the Yin-Yang heaven. Han Fei nodded. I won't leave in a short time. In these 2 days, I will set up a spirit gathering array outside the wall of death to guide the power in the cage smoothly into the Yin-Yang heaven. But even so, it will take decades for the concentration of heaven and earth spiritual energy of the Yin-Yang heaven to catch up with that of the cage. However, it's still possible to increase it by 2 or 3 times. Rome wasn't built in a day. Although Han Fei was strong, it was impossible for him to make everyone stronger at once. Shueishenqi nodded. That's good. After bidding farewell to Shueishenqi, Han Fei and Luo Xiaobai returned to their seats in less than 5 minutes. Han Fei was puzzled to find that Xia Shaochan was sitting between Bai Lu and Yi Xian, and the three of them were whispering. Seeing Han Fei, Xia Shaochan immediately said, Don't eavesdrop. Han Fei. Han Fei's face darkened. Bai Lu was fine. But Yi Xian was too talkative. What was it that couldn't be leaked? Although he had told Xia Shaochan most of the things that had happened over the years, Han Fei still looked at Yi Xian and threatened her. But Han Fei still looked at Yi Xian and threatened. It seems that the 5 of you have been slacking off in the past 2 years. Chu Jinan, how did you teach your junior brothers and sisters? Are you always so relaxed? Chu Jinan was sucking a crab leg, and when he heard Han Fei suddenly mention him, he was dumbfounded. What does this have to do with me? In a burst of laughter, everyone was full. In the end, Xia Shaochan still pulled Yi Xian and the others to whisper. Han Fei and Tang Ge, on the other hand, found a shore and went fishing. On the cliff, Tang Ge said, I still remember what happened when I was a child. I didn't expect that in less than 30 years, you have become the master of the divine palace. Han Fei smiled and said, We're brothers. After all, we're still brothers. You were the one who got me my swallowed spirit soup. To be honest, I still don't like fish soup. The two of them looked at each other and laughed. Chapter 1869. Although Han Fei showed up in front of countless people this time, he was too domineering. The story that he killed the Snail King with one finger was spread by word of mouth and formed countless versions. Some people even said that Han Fei was tens of thousands of meters tall and could destroy the world with one finger. Many people in the villages and towns of the 36 towns now said that he was Marshal Han. But at this moment, Han Fei had become a character that no one cared about and no one cared about. It was mainly because Xia Shaochan showed off her wealth in front of everyone. Immediately, a group of junior brothers and sisters all surrounded her, and even old Bai and old Jiang didn't want to talk to Han Fei. The people of the Thug Academy were just so realistic. In the end, only Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang came over. Seeing Zhang Xuanyu's expression, how could Han Fei not know what he meant? Before Zhang Xuanyu spoke, Han Fei said, Even if I tell you this sword strike, you won't understand it. Zhang Xuanyu immediately said angrily, How do you know that I can't understand it? I've always created my own combat skills since I was a child. You guys are all copying others' words. Come on. Tell me. Lu Renquang was more realistic. Fei, I'm poor. You may not believe it, but this path I take consumes a lot of energy and spiritual energy. I can't eat enough. Bam! Without saying a word, Han Fei directly threw a giant shark at Lu Renquang. The shark hit the ground heavily, causing the ground to tremble. Wow! What realm is it? Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang were both junior venerables at this moment. Unlike Luo Xiaobai, Han Fei guessed that Luo Xiaobai could advance so fast because of the power of faith. After all, a supreme commander who was close to the people and diligent could also win the love and respect of the people. So Han Fei was not surprised that Luo Xiaobai had reached the intermediate venerable realm. However, Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang, because they didn't have the power of faith, could quickly reach the venerable realm in a place like the Yinyang heaven because they grew up in the star bead. Han Fei smiled and said, "It's a half-king realm. What you need now is time to slowly nourish it. You just need to finish eating this half-monarch realm shark within 3 months." Wow! Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang exclaimed, "We ate such a big shark in 3 months. The two of them took a look. This thing was thousands of meters long, and it was a genuine half-monarch realm creature. How could it possibly finish eating it in 3 months? However, at this moment old Jiang shouted, "Brat, how dare you give him special treatment? Have you forgotten about us? Senior brother, what kind of shark is this? It's huge. Little junior brother, you're really... How tiring would it be for 2 people to eat such ingredients? Senior martial brother will help them." In an instant, a large group of people from the Thug Academy came. "Are you kidding me? Do you really not care about Han Fei?" The moment the giant shark appeared, a terrifying pressure appeared above the Thug Academy. Yes, for low-level cultivators, the corpse of a half-monarch realm cultivator could be used to visualize, and they could even rely on the pressure to cultivate. Han Fei said leisurely, "Oh, you're all here? Why don't you tell stories to your senior sister Xiaochan?" As if they didn't hear him at all, they just pointed at the shark. Chu Linyuan said, "This tooth is extremely sharp. It's simply an ultra-quality treasure. We can cut it off." Xiao Zhan added, "This shark's blood is a huge tonic. We must not waste it. Such a big one is only enough for each of us to improve by at least 1 realm." Wenren Yu added, "This fin is also good. I've seen it. If it's refined into a set of hidden weapons, its power will be terrifying." Ling Yuan added, "Senior brother Han Fei, shouldn't you give us something practical? Senior sister Xiaochan's gift is 10 ultra-quality spiritual fruits, which we dare not eat with our current strength." Yi Xian added, "Senior brother, give us a gift." Su Daiji also shouted, "Gift!" Han Fei couldn't help but say, "It doesn't matter whether it's a gift or not. I want to add a new supreme technique to the Thug Academy. To put it bluntly, this great technique can be called a divine technique in the entire chaotic Azure Sea." "What technique? So magical?" "Fei, I don't really believe what you're saying. Senior brother, did you snatch this from the chaotic Azure Sea?" "Senior brother, we have already heard some of your deeds in the chaotic Azure Sea. Senior sister Xiaochan didn't mention any supreme technique. Brat, since it's a great technique to be shared, hurry up and give it to us. I'm so anxious." Xia Xiaochan seemed to think of something, looked at the shark again, and suddenly seemed to understand something. However, since Han Fei didn't say it, she didn't intend to say it either. She would just wait and watch the show. However, Han Fei said, "Wait a minute. Before that, I want to use my identity as the master of the Immortal Palace to send 2 people to our Thug Academy." "Send people?" Old Jiang asked, "What people?" Old Bai asked, "Did you bring back a few heavenly talents from the outside world? But their aptitude must be good." The next moment Han Fei said, "Their aptitude must be good. 2 heavenly heritage aptitude. Not bad, right?" "What? The legendary heavenly heritage? Brat, you can't lie to me. Where are they? Where are they?" The illusion of mountains and rivers appeared beside Han Fei, and then Nian and Xiao Sei appeared in the Thug Academy. At the same time, the wood spirit, the fire seed, and the others also appeared. Everyone's heart did a flip. They knew that Han Fei could hide people in the sea-quelling painting. The wood spirit and the fire seed had appeared before, so they knew each other. They didn't know Xiao Sei, but Xiao Sei was in the venerable realm, so he couldn't be Han Fei's student. Old Bai and Old Jiang immediately fixed their eyes on Yin-Er and Yin. Han Fei's eyes, however, were attracted by the crab in Yin-Er's arms. In his eyes, information popped up. Name King Crab. Introduction. King Crab, a species of behemoth left from ancient times. It was reborn from King Crab. King Crab is the ultimate evolution of King Crab. If it needs to evolve further, it can't evolve further unless its life level has greatly evolved. King Crab has a gentle personality and is generally friendly to any creature. King Crab has infinite strength, but its body is heavy, which is the drawback of evolution and the reason why they try to improve their bloodline. Ultimate King Crab can barely bear the burden of its own body. Level 1 Quality Primeval Mutant Realm Spiritual Awakening Great Path Space Contains Chaotic Chi 721 Combat Skills Space Scissors Food Algae Shellfish Collectible Non-Absorbable Remarks Still in its infancy state. Han Fei took a breath. King Crab had evolved. His life level had improved and he had become a King Crab. Besides, if he remembered correctly, the ultimate King Crab couldn't bear the weight of his body, but this King Crab seemed to be able to. As for other information, its quality had changed from an ancient mutant to a primeval mutant, which was an excellent proof of bloodline improvement. It had its own great path of space, so it had inherited the characteristics of King Crab. Han Fei didn't know if King Crab had inherited King Crab's memories, but even if it had, it shouldn't be awakened for the time being. Yin-Er and Yin-Er were a little timid when they saw so many strangers at once. Yin-Er was fine because she had gone to school. But Yin-Er followed Han Fei here, and everything she saw was extremely strange. Yin-Er had been releasing her spiritual energy since she was a child and had never left the Jingxin Taoist Academy in the glass sky. The main reason was that Old Bai and the others were staring at her, giving her and Yin-Er a very strange feeling as if they were treasures. Han Fei said to Yin-Er, "Yin-Er, these are my teachers and senior brothers." With that, Han Fei said to Old Bai, "President, this is Han Yin-Er, my biological sister." "What? You have a biological sister? What's the story behind this?" Han Fei said, "Don't ask so many questions. Let me introduce them first. This is Han Yin. Don't tell me about her background. Anyway, they will be students of our thug, Pure Yang sect." Old Bai stroked his beard and said, Okay, no problem at all." "Ha ha." Old Jiang raised his eyelids. "Do the two girls like alchemy and drawing arrays?" "Principal, I have the essentials of alchemy scripture and the true solution of array Tao. Are you interested?" Han Fei's face turned green. When did old Jiang become so good-tempered after the meeting? If he hadn't heard that the other party had heaven's meridians, would he still be like this? Cough, cough, some people should pay attention to their image. Then Han Fei led Yin-Er and said, "This is already the yin-yang heaven. The spiritual energy here is a bit thin, but it's good for you now. In a few days, when Big Brother is done with his business here, he will bring him back to summon his ghost. You and Yin-Er should stay at school for a few days. Senior brothers and senior sisters are doing well." "Yes, all right." After all, Han Yin-Er was more sensible. She was not as noisy as Yi Xian. She was a quiet girl. Han Fei introduced them one by one. "This is President Bai, a money grubber." Old Bai was fine at first, but the next second, his beard flew up. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Han Yin-Er was surprised. Was the relationship between the teachers and students in this school so good? Han Fei introduced again, Old Jiang, Vice President Delicious. Puff, the corner of Han Yin-Er's mouth twitched, and Yin-Er handed a bag of potato chips to Old Jiang. "Grandpa Vice President, have some." Old Jiang. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1870. Yin-Er was still a child. Although she knew how to treat people, she had only studied for half a year and often caused trouble, so her concept of delicious food was, who can't be delicious? When it came to food, she thought she had found a kindred spirit. Old Jiang took the potato chips speechlessly and then glared at Han Fei fiercely, thinking, "You've lost all my face." Han Fei introduced, "This is Senior Sister Jiang Qin, Senior Brother Chu Linyuan and Senior Sister Mu Qinchuan, Senior Brother Wang Dashuai and Senior Sister Bai Lu. Don't you already have a daughter? Is it a daughter or a son? Where are they?" Wang Dashuai immediately blushed. "Well, not yet." Bai Lu nodded. "Soon. It'll be just a few years." Han Fei nodded. "She's definitely talented. Our Thug Academy is going to have another heavenly talent." Then Han Fei continued, "Teacher Xiao Zhan and Teacher Wenren Yu, they are both the best teachers in this world. They taught me before. Senior Sister Jiang Qin, Senior Brother Yang Xie, Junior Uncle Jiang Chao. We're all family. Sister Qin, you have to have one too." Jiang Qin glared at Han Fei. "Why don't you have one yourself?" Han Fei said awkwardly, "Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan are your senior brothers and sisters. Xiaonan has a good temper, and Ling Yuan has the demeanor of a big sister. They're also a pair of beautiful girls. This is Yixian, Su Daji, Guqi, Xingyu, and Su Sanqian. They're your peers. Now their strength is neither good nor bad, and they lack tempering." Han In-er was speechless. "What kind of school is this? Why are they all one-on-one? My brother and Xia Shaochan are also a pair." In the end, Han Fei introduced, "And this is my generation. Your brother, your sister-in-law, this fat guy named Lu Renquang, this handsome guy named Zhang Xuanyu, and senior sister Xiao Bai, the busiest girl you've seen today. The five of us were the most perfect combination." After introducing them one by one, Han Fei looked at the Tree Spirit and the Fire Company. Han Fei said, "The five of you don't need to go back to the sea-quelling painting. There are too many things in this world that you need to experience. If you are willing, you can also join my Pure Yang sect. In the future, you will be the Pure Yang sect's legendary mountain protector." "Yes, Master," Han Fei said. "From today on, I am no longer your master. Everyone has their own fate. Although you are not human, you are not human." However, they were all legendary creatures and should be the main characters of this world. After hiding in the sea-quelling painting for so long, it was time for it to come out. Now that something has happened to you, you can cultivate in the outside world, and your growth will be extremely fast. Perhaps, in the future, the Chunyang Taoist mansion will also need the protection of the few of you. Tinder, Punishing Saber and the others were all excited. They didn't have to return to the sea-quelling painting, which meant that they were completely free and could finally enjoy their lives to the fullest. Seeing Emperor Ba lazily absorbing the spiritual energy emitted by In-er from time to time, Han Fei couldn't help but say, "His name is Little Ba, and he is of the same generation as our father. In theory, you have to call him uncle, but I don't know if he has his own memory. Since he likes to nestle in your arms, you can take him with you and call him Little Ba." With that said, Han Fei took out a sea-swallowing seashell and handed it over. "Little Ba can't be treated badly. We owe him a favor. If he doesn't have enough spiritual energy, you can feed him." In-er's eyes lit up. "Can I?" Han Fei chuckled. "Why not? Little Ba is close to us. Since he likes to nestle in your arms, there must be a reason. It's not just because he covets your spiritual energy." In-er nodded heavily. "Then I'll take him with me." At this moment, Han Fei said to the others, "Now, I'm going to teach you a great technique one by one. Because such a great technique can't be recorded on jade slips, I can only teach it to you one by one." Seeing that he was getting down to business, everyone was shocked. A great technique recorded on jade slips? What kind of great technique was this? Han Fei said, "Zhang Xuanyu, you go first." Zhang Xuanyu raised his eyebrows. "Aren't you going to pick the president first?" Han Fei said, "This is a problem of your physical fitness and strength. With this serious mismatch, this great technique has a better effect on you than on everyone else, so you have to go first, right?" Zhang Xuanyu frowned. "It's related to physical fitness. Is it a great technique on body refining?" Han Fei pointed at the void, and a golden light directly disappeared between Zhang Xuanyu's eyebrows. This guy immediately stood still and digested the great technique of the pure mystic body. After a while, when everyone stood here and absorbed the pure mystic body, Xia Shaochan said, "It seems that you can only rely on yourself." Han Fei nodded slightly. "There are cracks in the cage. With the current leakage of spiritual energy and energy, the cage will definitely collapse in 100 years at most. At that time, once the cage is broken, even if the heaven and earth natural array still exists, its power will drop sharply, and I'm afraid it will no longer be able to stop the 36 black heavens. Therefore, I must do everything I can to make them stronger and the entire yin-yang heaven stronger." Xia Shaochan nodded. "We will. At least we still have 100 years. Swish, swish, at this moment, 2 figures appeared in the Thug Academy almost at the same time. Who else could it be except for the Thug Patriarch and Ren Tianfei? However, at this moment, Ren Tianfei was still slightly exuding the power of a half-king. He said, "It feels so good to be back to the half-king realm. Even if I become a half-king, I'll just become a half-king again." Haha, Ren Tianfei chuckled and Han Fei didn't know what he was talking about. Li Daxian said, "Han Fei, don't you understand? This guy has been restored to the half-king realm, which basically means that he is going to become a king." Han Fei asked in surprise, "What's going on?" Li Daxian said, "He is not a king. How can he really live for tens of thousands of years? His real peak has always been a king." Wow, Han Fei was dumbfounded. Damn it, he had never thought of that. But now that Li Daxian pointed it out, he immediately understood everything. Yes, if he was not a king, how could he live for tens of thousands of years? How could he be acquainted with his mother? It seemed that old Ren seemed to have been seriously injured because of something. Like old Han, his strength plummeted and he fell from the Pioneer Sea realm. Ren Tianfei said, "Han Fei, with your current strength, no one in the yin-yang heaven or even the waterwood heaven can do anything to you. You need to find a way to expand your sea as soon as possible. The yin-yang heaven needs a king, and the first king can only be you." Han Fei nodded slightly. "Got it. Let me deal with the yin-yang heaven and the waterwood heaven first. I guess I have to go to the waterwood heaven." Ren Tianfei nodded slightly. "I'm going back to the central holy city. I'll wait for you there." Han Fei said, "I might not make a breakthrough there." Ren Tianfei said, "You will go there eventually." After Ren Tianfei left, Han Fei said, "Patriarch, didn't you say that you went to the Divine Palace to find a body? Is that true?" Li Daxian nodded. "It's true, but my body is gone. I don't have an incarnation, so focusing on the undying is the only way." Han Fei narrowed his eyes. "If your body is revived, is there a chance for you to come back?" Li Daxian nodded. "The possibility is not high, but if my body is restored, I can completely switch to the undying art and become a top expert among the undying." Han Fei said, "I'm not strong enough now. I'll think of a way later." In fact, Han Fei didn't want to try at all. Unlike Ren Tianfei, Li Daxian was currently an undying, and behind the undying was the undying temple. He hadn't figured out the relationship between the Void Temple, the Undying Temple, and the Temple of Time. So he wouldn't help Li Daxian now. When he knew more about it, he would take a look at it. The pure mystic body had been passed down, King Ba had woken up, and the yin-yang heaven had been pacified. Luo Xiaobai was organizing and arranging work. While explaining the reasons to everyone in the yin-yang heaven, she also announced that the yin-yang heaven would bring a new wave of breakthroughs, so that everyone could take advantage of the bloody rain to cultivate and make breakthroughs. In addition to indicating that the threat of the wall of death had been eliminated, it also announced that the concentration of spiritual energy in the yin-yang heaven would gradually increase, which reassured everyone. When everything was ready, Han Fei looked at Xia Shaochan and said, "I need to make a small breakthrough, which will take about a day. In case the demonic plants of the Forest of Horrors come here while I'm away, you should stay on the Scattered Stars Island. Xia Xiaochan nodded. Don't worry. Go ahead. Now is a troubled time. Let's wait until everything calms down. Millions of kilometers away, somewhere on the sea, with a thought from Han Fei, two strange lights, one black and one white, drew a huge black and white circle between the sky and the earth. As soon as he stepped on it, a terrifying pressure sealed the surrounding 10,000 kilometers. Hundreds of thousands of ultra-quality spiritual stones flew out, and thousands of spiritual fruits fell into the yin-yang circle. After a full 12 hours, Han Fei found that little black and little white's bodies began to grow slightly longer. Their bodies became slimmer, and their long phantom tails made their bodies half real and half illusory. When little black and little white appeared, information appeared in Han Fei's eyes. Name twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish. Introduction. This is the descendant of the mysterious ancient yin-yang sky swallowing fish. The black and white fish live together. The white fish is docile, while the black fish is cruel. They are symbiotic. As long as one of them survives, the other won't die. Level 80 quality, mysterious storage of chaotic gas greater than 10,000 strands, food, everything can be swallowed, combat skills, supreme yin-yang wheel, spirit swallowing body, fusion, Gemini divine technique, yin-yang millstone soul power fusion. One day, remarks the black fish can't be seen. Except for the master, only the yin-yang divine eyes born by heaven and earth can see through it. After fusion, its combat power will be greatly increased, and it will be comparable to a sea-quelling bizarre treasure. Second update. Please vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 1871. After a long time of accumulation, at least in Han Fei's opinion, Little Black and Little White finally became venerables. Normally, the growth of an associate spirit wouldn't be slower than that of its master. However, Han Fei's growth was too fast, so his associate spirit and contractual spiritual beasts grew extremely slowly. The only thing that surprised Han Fei was the Emperor Sparrow. According to its speed, it would only take a few more years for it to become a venerable. Of course, Han Fei had decided to stay in the yin-yang heaven for decades, so he wasn't in a hurry. He had forged the universe and time acceleration. If he gave Little Black and Little White 10 years, it would be equivalent to more than 300 years. How could he worry that their strength couldn't improve? Dad, after the breakthrough, Little White appeared in front of Han Fei like a wisp of white silk. At this moment, Little White's eyes were smart and not as childish as before. And Little Black looked even colder, like a lurking hunter, ready to give the enemy a fatal blow. What Han Fei was surprised about was the yin-yang millstone technique. This was the big millstone that sealed the savage abyss, but it was awakened when Little Black and Little White made breakthroughs? Didn't this mean that he could also exert the power of the yin-yang millstone? Han Fei couldn't help but exclaim, "Yin-yang millstone." Suddenly, above the sea, a vortex suddenly appeared. 1,000-meter-long yin-yang pattern grew larger and expanded at an extremely fast speed. It didn't stop until it stretched for about 800 kilometers. The yin-yang millstone, black and white, rotated in opposite directions. A massive amount of energy gathered around, surging and growing. The spiritual energy and energy within 10,000 kilometers were gathering at an extremely fast speed. These energies entered the millstone, and under the crushing of the yin-yang millstone, extremely pure energy and spiritual energy emerged in the center of the millstone. Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. How similar was this yin-yang millstone to the yin-yang millstone that sealed the savage abyss? It transformed the mixed energy and spiritual energy into the purest spiritual energy and spiritual energy. Also, the speed of absorption and transformation was beyond his expectation. Almost instantly, Han Fei thought of one thing. If the yin-yang millstone was used in the savage abyss, who could cultivate faster than him? Although he understood this, there was nothing he could do now. Except for the power of his divine soul, he could already transcend the tribulation and become a king. After all, he had too many resources available in Forge the Universe. He only needed to wait for a few days to take En-Er to the Sky Meditation Garden, and the plan to become a king would officially be put on the agenda. With a thought, Han Fei deactivated the Yin-Yang millstone, put away Little Black and Little White, and flew away. An hour later, Han Fei stood in the Nine-Palace secret realm that appeared in the abyssal chasm. Han Fei placed the Water Fairy and the Divine Sun in this paradise. When he came back, he was shocked to find that 2/3 of this mystic realm had been devoured by the Water Fairy. 1/3 of the upper and lower parts still remained the same. As for where the Divine Child was, it had grown into a small red sapling that was half a meter tall. Han Fei was speechless. "Divine Prince, aren't you growing too slowly? According to this speed, in another 2 years, Teacher will most likely give birth to spiritual intelligence, and you probably won't even have a place to live." Han Fei scanned with his perception and found no signs of spiritual intelligence recovery, so he left here. On the offshore platform, there was no one here now. Because there was an inexplicable suction force nearby, which would absorb people's spiritual energy, there was no trace of people within 20,000 kilometers of this place. When Han Fei arrived, he waved his hand and a directional teleportation array appeared. When Han Fei stepped into the teleportation array, he came directly to the altar on the offshore platform. With the ability of the Emperor Sparrow, it shouldn't be difficult for it to know that he was here. Sure enough, soon a voice appeared in Han Fei's mind, "Come back when the King Tribulation is coming." Han Fei was furious. "Fine, you're all masters. I'll leave." He thought he would have to leave for a day, but it turned out that he returned to the Scattered Stars Island in less than a day. He thought to himself, "I have tens of millions of resources, but you don't know how to cherish them." When Han Fei came back, he happened to run into Xia Xiaochan and Luo Xiaobai, who were making arrangements for the Forest of Horrors. Because Luo Xiaobai hadn't accepted Han Fei's inheritance of the pure mystic body, she glared at Han Fei when she saw him. When Zi Luo and the others saw Han Fei return, they immediately became cautious. Luo Xiaobai said, "The demonic plants of the Forest of Horrors, because they are too large, can't transform. You'd better not be stationed near the Scattered Stars Island. I have divided more than a dozen grassland spiritual plants on the sea map of the Yin-Yang heaven for you. You can live in peace for the time being. However, you must set up a habitat nearby, and a half-king realm powerhouse must be stationed there." Luo Xiaobai rambled on, and when she finished, Han Fei added, "Also, the demonic plants of the Forest of Horrors can be exchanged for resources with humans. Don't be stingy with your spiritual fruits and spiritual liquids. If you want to integrate into the human race, you need to give us some practical benefits." Sea Bamboo nodded. "Of course. The Forest of Horrors doesn't have many things, but there are a lot of spiritual fruit. Every year, we will provide more than 100,000 spiritual fruits for establishing diplomatic relations with the human race." Luo Xiaobai glanced at him and thought to herself, Han Fei is really different. She mentioned it once before, but this Sea Bamboo guy didn't respond. However, Han Fei just casually added, "And this Sea Bamboo guy even told her the detailed figures." Han Fei said again, "By the way, I know there is a gap between you and the Demon Beast Alliance, but if the Demon Beast Alliance enters the Yin-Yang heaven one day, the two sides will not fight anymore. Of course, I will also restrain the people of the Demon Beast Alliance from fighting with you." Zi Luo said, "Divine Master Han Fei, the war between the Forest of Horrors and the Demon Beast Alliance is because of the competition for resources. Now that the human race is in the middle, there is no need for us to compete for resources, so there is no reason for us to fight again." Han Fei nodded slightly. "That's good. Go and arrange for the demonic plants to come over. Don't let most of the explorer-level demonic plants leave the cage or go too far away from the cage for the time being. At present, the cultivation resources of the Yin-Yang Heaven are limited. Since they can cultivate in the cage, they'd better not compete with humans for resources. Although Zi Luo and the others didn't want to, they could only nod. After all, no one wanted to stay in the cage anymore. However, the resources of the Yin-Yang Heaven were indeed limited at present. Zi Luo asked tentatively, "Divine Master Han Fei, although the demonic plants can't enter the Yin-Yang Heaven in large quantities, can they come to the human world occasionally? After all, most of the demonic plants have been in the cage for a lifetime." Han Fei nodded. "Yes. If they can change into human form, no matter how different they look, they can go to the Scattered Stars Island to visit and live temporarily." Zi Luo and the others immediately breathed a sigh of relief and quickly cupped their hands. "Thank you, Divine Master Han Fei." As soon as this was done, Han Fei's heart did a flip. His incarnation is back? After a moment, after Han Fei stored his incarnation into Forge the Universe, he said to Luo Xiaobai and Xia Shaochan, "As expected, the Demon Beast Alliance and the Immortal City have appeared in the Shuemu Heaven. I have to go there." Another half a day later. Shuemu Heaven. Because Xia Shaochan was cooperating with Luo Xiaobai to accept the people from the Forest of Horrors, Han Fei came alone. In the channel, Han Fei felt the power that sealed the channel, which was trying to suppress him desperately. Yes, the pressure on Han Fei's shoulders was quite great. However, the power of this seal couldn't completely suppress Han Fei. It could be said that if Han Fei really fought back now, the channel might not be able to stop him. After meeting the 1,000 trees and the tree of dead leaves guarding the channel, Han Fei came out. With one step, he stepped directly under the Immortal Palace. Han Fei's sudden arrival made the Venerable Bat, who had been guarding here all year round, suddenly change his expression. Han Fei said, "Is the Queen here?" The Venerable Bat said vigilantly, "Yes. Is your strength stronger than that of a half-king?" Han Fei smiled gently. "Sort of." Without talking to the Venerable Bat, Han Fei's figure directly appeared in the teleportation array, and the next moment, he appeared in the Immortal Palace. Jing was not there. Han Fei was at the entrance. From a distance, he saw the Life Queen watering the flowers. Han Fei asked, "Junior sister, why did you fight with the people of the Demon Beast Alliance?" "My incarnation should have explained the situation. The Demon Beast Alliance is our ally." The Life Queen raised her head. "Are you questioning me?" Han Fei's face darkened slightly. "I'm not questioning you. I'm criticizing you." Han Fei felt the power of a king surging toward him in an instant. However, now that he dared to call himself senior brother, how could he be afraid of the Life Queen? Han Fei's aura suddenly soared, instantly breaking this power. The Life Queen's palm trembled slightly, thinking to herself, what a terrifying increase in strength. "I'm actually no match for him in the Immortal Palace?" Han Fei said, "There's nothing to be surprised about. There's nothing strange between us. Let me tell you about the situation outside. You will know that both my Yin-Yang Heaven and your Waterwood Heaven are extremely short of power now." The Life Queen frowned. "They want to transcend the tribulation and become kings as soon as they come out. They treat this place too much as their own home. The resources and Tao of the Waterwood Heaven are only enough for Jing to become a king at most. Now, why is it their turn?" Han Fei said, "You're wrong. In 10 years at most, the Yin-Yang Heaven and the Waterwood Heaven need more than 5 people in the Pioneer Sea realm. In another 10 years, it's best to have 10 people. Believe me, the cage has been broken. The resources and Tao of the world, there are definitely enough people to become kings." The 3rd chapter. I need to prepare for becoming a king in these 2 days. I need to deal with the chores. Do you want to see Han Fei become a king? Anyway, it's only a few days. End of this chapter. Chapter 1872. In Han Fei's opinion, the Life Queen was too conservative. In the past, it was completely understandable that Chao Tianji and Tang Yen were not allowed to come to Shuemu Sky. After all, at that time there were internal and external troubles. If the experts of the Yin-Yang Sky also came here to undergo tribulation and become kings, not only would the relationship between the two sides completely collapse, they might even become enemies. But that was then and this was now. The seal on the cage had been broken, but not everyone in the cage was an enemy. The Demon-Beast Alliance and the human race's immortal city were two forces that the Waterwood Heaven and the Yin-Yang Heaven had to accept. The Life Queen gave Han Fei a deep look. "Tell me why I have to accept it." Han Fei said, "You should know where I have been in the past 2 years." The Life Queen nodded slightly. "Although I don't know how you got out, you shouldn't have been in the Yin-Yang Heaven or the Waterwood Heaven for the past 2 years. Han Fei got up. "The outside world is called the Chaotic Ocean. The remaining 26 immortal palaces were divided into 13 heavens of the inner region and 13 heavens of the outer region. They were not united. Aside from the human race, there were also the Martial Emperor City, the 100 Fiend race, the Underwater Humans, the Giant Beast race, the Merfolk Royalty, the 10 Pirate Crews, and many other factions. Among them, any one of the top 10 pirate groups had a king among them. As for the other factions, they had at least one Sea Expansion Realm expert, while at most they had dozens of Sea Expansion Realm experts. As for the Exalt Realm, I'll be frank with you. There are no less than 100,000 Exalt Realm experts in the entire Chaotic Ocean. As for the Explorer Realm, there were countless of them. Is there a need for us to bicker over whether the Shuemu Sky has 1 or 2 kings?" The Life Queen frowned slightly. "The Outer Realms are so powerful?" Han Fei shrugged. "It's even better than what I said. Let me put it this way. The place where our Yin-Yang Sky and the Waterwood Sky are located is actually just a dangerous place in the chaotic vast ocean. Entering and exiting this place required a special method. The destruction of this cage should have something to do with me entering and exiting it. I'll give you a time estimate. In less than 100 years, the entire cage will definitely collapse. At that time, we will no longer be able to stop the experts from the outside world from entering." The Life Queen asked, "Is there a grudge?" Han Fei sneered. "Not just hatred. Their hatred was as deep as the sea. The Golden Crow did not appear out of nowhere in the Shuemu Heaven. 80,000 years ago, the Golden Crow, the 9 palaces, the Jellyfish, and the Yin-Yang Palace had come here because they were being hunted by some immortal palaces. This enmity has existed for 80,000 years. Do you think it can be resolved so easily?" The Life Queen pondered for a moment. "What's your current strength?" Just now, the Life Queen found that Han Fei's strength had exceeded her imagination. Although Han Fei was still a half-king realm cultivator, this half-king realm cultivator was completely different from the previous Han Fei. At that moment, she felt that Han Fei didn't care about her power at all. Han Fei grinned and said, "If I had another chance, the White Armor Emperor wouldn't last more than 100 moves in my hands." Wow, the Life Queen's heart skipped a beat. She spilled half of the water in the ladle in her hand. There was another meaning in Han Fei's words. With her current strength, she couldn't last more than 100 moves in front of Han Fei. The Life Queen had never thought that Han Fei would grow so fast. How many years has it been? When Han Fei first entered the Waterwood Heaven, he was only a peak-level law enforcer. But now, he was already able to kill King Realm Transcendence? The Life Queen said, "You go and negotiate with the Demon-Beast Alliance and the Immortal City. It's okay if you want to make a breakthrough in the Waterwood Heaven, but if something goes wrong, I may not have the ability to take responsibility." Han Fei smiled and said, "No need to take responsibility. When they understand the current situation, they will naturally know how dangerous their situation is. We only have 100 years at most. In these 100 years, if we can't improve the strength of the cultivators of the Waterwood Heaven and the Yin-Yang Heaven by 2 or 3 levels, When the cage breaks and the desperate situation opens, everyone will be in danger. 2 or 3 levels. The corner of the Life Queen's mouth twitched. Don't you feel a toothache when you say that? The improvement of the overall strength of a race can't be done overnight. 2 or 3 levels. This meant that the average strength of the entire race would cross 2 or 3 dimensions. In the past, hanging fishers were the mainstream, and now they were going to become the mainstream explorers. How exaggerated was this? Han Fei said, "It's actually a good thing that the cage is broken." A large amount of spiritual energy and energy in the cage poured into the yin-yang heaven and the waterwood heaven. This force will sweep across the 2 realms in a short time. The foundation of people's cultivation must be improved by at least 2 levels. So, I'm not exaggerating. At least we have to try. The Life Queen looked at Han Fei. As you said, can a few more kings stop the forces in the outside world? Han Fei shook his head slightly. No. However, in the outside world, I have already won over the 6 immortal palaces as allies. Although it's still not enough, at least we need to work hard to grow. As for the rest, let's wait until I transcend the tribulation and become a king. The Life Queen asked, "The yin-yang heaven is still suppressed by the eye of the heavenly path. How can you become a king?" Han Fei said, "I have my own plans. I came here just to persuade you. After all, I am more convincing than my incarnation." The Life Queen said, "They are near the Wall of Death, near the Blood Sea Divine Wood City, and the White Shell Royal City. Now, these 2 forces are suppressed by me in the cage. Jing, and the Insect King are negotiating with them." Han Fei nodded. "That's right. I'll take care of this matter." At the crack in the cage, on the Demon Beast Alliance's side, big demons and strong masters gathered. An army of hundreds of thousands of explorers was ready to go, roaring non-stop. At this moment, on the other side of the crack behind Old Goat, beast roars kept coming. Xiong Chaoshui asked, "Old Goat, how long do we have to wait? The Bull Demon King has been gone for a day. Until now, there has been no news from him. Could it be that bastard doesn't care about us anymore?" The Wild Lion shouted, "Don't talk nonsense. Think before you speak." Brother Bull said he was going to find his original body. "He is only a junior venerable, so he will be slower." Jiao Mengyue said, "Be patient. Don't be too impulsive. After all, there are kings in this world. It won't do us any good if we fall out." Ma Yuhun said, "Let's see what Old Goat will do. What's the use of just roaring?" At this moment, Yang Shinji was standing at the crack, chatting with Peaceful. Yang Shinji said, "Girl, your strength has reached the false king realm, right?" Peaceful shook her head. "There is no such thing as a false king. A king is a king. How can it be true or false?" Yang Shinji sighed. "I can see that your luck is quite extraordinary. I'm afraid you are the next king of this world. Your queen must have trained you as a king, right?" Peaceful said, "I won't talk to you. You old man, you are very bad. When Han Fei comes, he will talk to you." Yang Shinji smiled and said, "He will let us go out." Peaceful was silent for a moment. According to Han Fei's situation, he should accept these people. However, they could go to the yin-yang sky. In this way, the queen wouldn't have to worry. At this moment, suddenly, the void shook, and a figure seemed to appear out of thin air beside Peaceful. Peaceful was surprised. "You are here? These people all say they are very familiar with you. However, no matter how familiar they are, they can't just come here without an invitation. What do you think we should do?" On the other side, Yang Shinji looked at Han Fei. "You are here?" Han Fei nodded slightly and looked at Peaceful. "Okay, I have already told the Life Queen that you can let them in. Even if they become kings, it doesn't matter." Peaceful was shocked. "How is it possible? The resources of the world are limited. If so many strong masters come in and directly encroach on our home, how can we allow that?" Han Fei said, "It's not that exaggerated. In this tribulation, the fate of all races is the same. I will tell you the specific reason later. But for now, let them in first. Peaceful said, Don't lie to me. Han Fei said, Will I have candy if I lie to you? Here, this is a wisp of her soul. Look at it yourself. Han Fei handed a blue jade slip to Peaceful. Peaceful scanned it with her perception and heard the Life Queen say, Listen to Han Fei. Peaceful gritted her teeth, stamped her feet and said, Okay. Come in, come in, come in. On the other side, Yang Shinji immediately opened his mouth and spat out a strange light that led to the crack. Behind the crack, all kinds of demon beasts were densely packed. Golden Tiger howled, Brother Nyo, have you reached an agreement? This cage has been cracked. Why are they still blocking us? Xiong Chaoshui asked, Brother Nyo, your original body is a half-king? Or is it because you came to our demon-beast alliance before that you were just an incarnation? Han Fei was speechless. Should I tell you that I made breakthroughs all the way in a few years? Han Fei shouted, Everyone, don't howl. All venerables, come out first. Hearing Han Fei's words, the demon beasts couldn't wait any longer. With a few flashes of lightning and the other thunder leopards appeared outside the cage. Then, Mad Lion, Xiong Chaoshui, Golden Tiger, Jiao Mengyue, and the others all flashed out. Mad Lion said, The spiritual energy here is too thin, isn't it? Xiong Chaoshui exclaimed, I've never seen such a tranquil sea. Han Fei looked at the windy sea. You call this tranquil? Jiao Mengyue said, It's extremely safe here. Comfortable, it's so comfortable. I feel like I'm being massaged by the wind. Ma Yuhun smiled leisurely. Yes, although the quality of the spiritual energy is a bit poor, we've finally come out. In an instant, more than 300 venerables appeared in the outside world. At this time, Han Fei said, Don't howl. Listen to me first. In this place, the spiritual qi was thin, much weaker than in the cage. And the range of this place is only 8 million kilometers. So, if you all come out at once, the spiritual energy in this place will make most people's cultivation stagnate. So, my suggestion is not to come out at once. Let's connect the inside and outside of the cage, and from then on, we can communicate with each other. Chapter 1873. After a while of quarreling, Han Fei and Old Goat walked together in the end. After all, arguing with too many people wouldn't make things clear. Old Goat, this cage has been broken, and I can understand that this world's space is limited. However, I heard from the peaceful girl that the area you rule isn't here, but Yin Yang Sky? After all, our demon-beast alliance isn't familiar with the people from the Shuemu heaven. Why don't we go to your Yin Yang heaven? Han Fei said with a wry smile, Of course I'll welcome you. However, Yin Yang Sky and Waterwood Sky were about the same size. The biggest problem is that the Yin Yang Sky is temporarily unable to transcend tribulation and become a monarch. In the Yin Yang Sky, the heavenly Tao Dharma Eye was watching. Unless I can decipher the Eye of Heaven's path. Otherwise, our Yin Yang heaven wouldn't have produced a king. Eye of Heaven's path? Old Yang was stunned. They were acquaintances, and Han Fei had a good relationship with the 100,000 mountains. If he went to Han Fei's place, it should be good. However, who would have thought that there would be such a level of heavenly Tao suppression there? Han Fei continued, The eye of the heavenly path is one thing. If you're just worried that the Waterwood Heavenly King won't make a move, then you can rest assured. The Life Queen of the Waterwood Heaven is my junior martial sister. She won't make things difficult for you. Why don't you wait for a few years? Once I break the heavenly Tao Eye, all of you can come if you want. By the way, I have something to tell you. Old Goat, huh? I accepted the Forest of Horrors. From now on, the battle between the Demon-Beast Alliance and the Forest of Terror will cease. You accepted the Terror Forest. Old Goat could not help but frown. Why? One had to know how the demonic plants in the Forest of Horrors cultivated. Their bodies were filled with murderous auras, and their energy was chaotic and deformed. Do you still want to accept them? We have to accept it. In the outside world, it's called the chaotic ocean. Han Fei explained to Old Goat in detail what he had explained to the Life Queen. Then he said, "You can tell what I said to everyone in the Demon Beast Alliance. In any case, the wall of death would shatter completely within 100 years. At that time, we might face a great danger from the chaotic Azure Sea." Old Goat took a deep breath. "I didn't expect that the Yin-Yang sky and the Waterwood sky aren't the real outside worlds. This place is still a cage." Han Fei said, "You may not believe it. Not to mention that we're all in a cage. Isn't the chaotic Azure Sea a sort of cage as well? There's one more thing. You should be mentally prepared." Old Goat: "As long as it's not the Monster Beast Alliance's survival, my mental fortitude is very strong." Han Fei said, "Black Blood City is gone. Black Killer Snail King, that clown, I've killed him. I've left over 100 venerables for Black Blood City to serve as stepping stones for the growth of our races. From now on, if your Demon Beast Alliance wants to train your troops, I'm afraid you can only let the little demons grow freely." "What?" For the past 2 days, Old Goat had been thinking about how to get out of this place and hadn't paid any attention to Black Blood City. Who the hell knew that Black Blood City was gone just like that? The Black Killer Snail King, who had been fighting against the Monster Beast Alliance for many years, also died quietly? Old Goat couldn't help but sigh. Old Goat pondered for a long time before he heaved a long sigh. "That's good. In that case, we can only work hard for the next 100 years." Han Fei didn't chat with Mad Lion and the others one by one. After greeting them, he hurried to the immortal city of the human clan. For Han Fei, if it weren't for stabilizing the Forest of Horrors and settling down the Monster Beast Alliance and the immortal city of the human clan, he would have taken Yin to the Sky Meditation Garden. He didn't have time to hang around here. That was not right. When Han Fei arrived at the immortal city of the human clan, the Insect King and many venerables of the Waterwood Heaven also gathered here. Compared to the Monster Beast Alliance, Jin Tong and the others led not only humans but also countless undead creatures. There were more than 80 venerables in the immortal city. At this moment, they were all gathered here. In the human clan, except for the undead, Chen Xiang and the others were negotiating with the Insect King and the others. Chen Xiang said, "Since we can't talk to the Waterwood Heaven, please lead the way and let us go to the Yin-Yang Heaven. I'm Chen Xiang, the former Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island of the Yin-Yang Heaven. You'll find out soon." The Insect King said indifferently, "Wait for Han Fei." Chen Xiang. Suddenly, the void trembled, and Han Fei stepped out of the void. As soon as he saw Han Fei, the Insect King was shocked. For some reason, he felt that Han Fei was suppressing him in terms of life level. General Han. On the immortal city of the human clan, Han Fei's former subordinates, Chen Yu, Long Shi, Hua Meng, and Yun Tianhe, all stood up and greeted him. Chen Xiang had a complicated look on her face. She couldn't understand Han Fei's current strength at all. It had only been a few years. Had his strength reached the Half-King realm? Han Fei raised his hand and said lightly, "I already know. The human clan can return. Let me talk to Jin Tong about it." Then Han Fei stepped to Jin Tong's side. The Jin Tong said, "Your strength has surpassed mine." Han Fei smiled and didn't answer. Instead, he said, "Senior Zhao and the Forbidden Land haven't come out, have they?" Jin Tong shook his head slightly. "No, he has a disciple and hasn't appeared on the grassland for several years." Han Fei's heart did a flip. "He has a disciple? Is it the kid from back then?" Han Fei quickly told Jin Tong the plan that he had just told Old Yang. But Jin Tong said, "If that's the case, it's actually beneficial to cultivate in the cage?" Han Fei said, "That's the truth. Now, a lot of the spiritual energy in the cage are escaping. His days in the cage would slowly become better. If you're not in a hurry, you can wait patiently for 2 years. After I solve the problem in the Inyang heaven, I can take the entire human clan to the Inyang heaven. Of course, including the undead creatures, the Inyang heaven can also accept them. Jin Tong nodded slightly. That's good. I'll explain this to everyone. However, if Master revives and he makes a scene, will that Life Queen be able to stop him? Han Fei said. If he comes out, tell him that I know where the dragon is. Just inform me to come over. As long as he doesn't go to the Inyang heaven. Otherwise, the eye of the heavenly path is still here. If he goes there, he will almost certainly die. It was relatively easy to chat with Jin Tong. After all, Jin Tong was from the dragon-taming heaven, and he knew about the chaotic ocean. Of course, Han Fei also said that if he was really curious, he could send a small number of people to the Inyang heaven to have a look, so that the Demon Beast Alliance and the Immortal City could rest assured. As for Old Yang and Jin Tong, they were actually just waiting for an accurate and trustworthy message. Since Han Fei had come, and he had a convincing reason, it was enough. His words carried enough weight. That was enough. They didn't care about staying in the cage for a few more years. With Han Fei's guarantee, they could communicate with the outside world, and they could temporarily leave the cage. After explaining the situation to the Insect King, Han Fei said, "Tell the Life Queen that I'm leaving. The Inyang heaven is also very busy. After I become a king, I'll visit you again." The Insect King was surprised. "Aren't you going to take the Cloud Sea Divine Tree? You can just tell the Life Queen." Han Fei said, "It's too slow to take the channel between the two worlds. Anyway, there are already a lot of cracks in the cage. I can just walk out of the cage." Half a day later, when Han Fei returned to the Thug Academy, he found that this group of people were cultivating the pure mystic body around the Shark Corp. As soon as Han Fei returned, he heard Zhang Xuanyu say, "Fei Fei, this technique of yours consumes too many resources, doesn't it? An ultra-quality spiritual stone can only be used for 1%. What about the remaining spiritual energy?" Han Fei said lightly, "Put it in this world. Except for you, everyone else can use it. The only disadvantage of the pure mystic body is that the spiritual energy it needs is extremely pure. There's nothing I can do about it." Lu Renquang said, "Fei Fei, I feel that if we continue to cultivate like this, I'm afraid that we will all fall by at least one realm." Han Fei said, "What's wrong with falling realms but not strength? Only with solid basic skills can you have deeper potential. I'd rather you fall by 2 or even 3 realms." Han Fei casually threw a sun-moon shell and said, "Here are 10 million ultra-quality spiritual stones, which should be enough for all of you to completely consolidate your realm, and there's still a lot left. This is the only subsidy I can give to the Thug Academy. In the future, I won't give you any more resource subsidies." Wow, everyone was dumbfounded. 10 million ultra-quality spiritual stones. How rich did Han Fei become after going out for a trip? With a swish, Old Bai quickly picked up the sun-moon seashell in his hand and then said lightly, "You are now the master of the Divine Palace. We really can't give too many resources to our own sect. That's enough. I'll take good care of it for you, lest these troublemakers use it recklessly." Han Fei smiled and said nonchalantly, "By the way, where are Yi-Er and the others?" Su Sanqian replied, "They were dragged by Yen Yen to go shopping." Han Fei couldn't help but be speechless. Are they all so careless? Are they lax already? Immediately, Han Fei scanned with his perception and looked for them. Chapter 1874. Although Yi-Er was born in the glass sky, she spent most of her time in the Jingxin Dao Academy. She knew very little about the outside world. In fact, Xian Feng had taken her out a few times. However, it was just for the novelty. She hadn't seen many prosperous scenes like the ones on the Scattered Stars Island. Although the Scattered Stars Island had just experienced a riot, it looked like a scene of thousands of things waiting to be done. However, the foundation of the Scattered Stars Island had always been thriving. Therefore, even after the turmoil, everyone still went back to doing what they were supposed to do. At this time, the blood rain was still falling from the sky, but it was not as exaggerated as the previous 2 days. The Tao contained in the rain allowed people to experience turmoil, and also allowed too many people to make breakthroughs. When more people made breakthroughs, spiritual energy storms could often be seen somewhere on the scattered stars island. Because of this, there was not enough spiritual energy on the scattered stars island in the past 2 days. Han Fei took out 1,000,000 ultra-quality spiritual stones and set up a large spirit-gathering formation for the scattered stars island. Only in this way could he meet the breakthrough needs of countless people on the scattered stars island. At this moment, Yi Xian was holding Yin Er's arm. Su Daiji and Yen Er were side by side, playing with Rubik's Cube toys. There were snacks floating around their mouth. Xia Xiaochan led the crowd and looked at the scattered stars island that had changed a lot, sighing. At this moment, everyone saw a small statue of Han Fei standing outside the refining hall and the logistics division. Yi Xian said, "Senior Sister Xiaochan, Yin during the time you were away, you didn't know how powerful Senior Brother Han Fei was. This matter has to be told from the time when Senior Sister Xiaochan had an accident. Senior Brother Han Fei was only a hanging fisher at that time, but he directly attacked the Dark Hunter Legion and killed his enemy." Yi Xian's little mouth kept talking, but her story was quite interesting. Senior Brother Han Fei refined the Feiyanmu furnace and shocked the whole island. For example, Senior Brother Han Fei scolded Bluefeather, which was recorded in history. For example, Senior Brother Han Fei competed for the sea-quelling painting and won the top of the Heavenly Talents list. For example, Senior Brother Han Fei entered the Thousand Star City, challenged the big shots of the Thousand Star City at the Heavenly Sword sect, and challenged them, enforcing the law in battle, surpassing realms to kill the enemy. For example, Senior Brother Han Fei swept away all the enemies at the gate of the Thug Academy in the Thousand Star City. For example, Senior Brother Han Fei was a law enforcer and killed a Grand Venerable with one finger. For example, Senior Brother Han Fei broke into the Shuemu Heaven, the Dark War Port, and forced his way through the 4 Nine Kings tribulation. For example, Senior Brother Han Fei led the Scattered Stars Island to fight against the Black Killer Snail. Smack Yi Xian took a bite of the strawberry in her mouth and said, "Now, you don't know that Senior Brother Han Fei has become a national idol. On the Scattered Stars Island, the Thousand Star City, and the 36 towns, there were dozens of books about Senior Brother Han Fei. I recommend The Rise of the Cold Commander and The History of the Heroic Commander. These 2 books are more realistic." Xia Xiaochan had mixed feelings. When Han Fei told her about it, he didn't mention it at all. But when it came from Yi Xian's mouth, he was mesmerized. Just by listening to him, he knew what Han Fei had been through these years. As for Yin apart from being shocked, she was still shocked. So her brother was actually so powerful? He used to only have a low-level spiritual heritage? He was already 12 years old, but he was still a level 2 fisher? He was only a dangling fisher, but he could already roam the world? Compared with herself, Yin felt that Han Fei's life was incredibly wonderful. Even in the glass sky there were countless strong masters. However, no one could do what her brother did. Xia Xiaochan asked, "Where can I buy that book?" Yi Xian said, "There is one in the trade market outside the club. Come on, let's go have a drink. Not only Senior Brother Han Fei, but Senior Sister Xiaobai is also powerful. And my husband is also amazing. Let me tell you about it." Xia Xiaochan and Yin were stunned. "You have a husband?" Yi Xian's face turned serious. "Yes, brother you." Xia Xiaochan didn't understand for a moment. "Who?" Yi Xian said, "Zhang Xuanyu." Puff Xia Xiaochan was stunned. "Zhang Xuanyu also has a wife now? This philandering sea anemone actually found a little cutie in silence?" Yin couldn't help but ask, Does the pure Yang sect encourage puppy love? Yi Xian immediately raised her head and said, What's wrong with that? All the geniuses in the world are in our Thug Academy. We don't like anyone else. You don't know how many people want to enter our academy now? However, they don't have the qualifications and heritage. The Thug Academy branch in the Blue Sea town has accepted some more students. However, they are not qualified to come to the Scattered Stars Island yet. They still need to pass the basic assessment. After a moment, everyone came to the street of the club, where many lively commercial systems, such as the trade market, the carnival shop, the combat skill exchange, and the food street, were gathered. When Yi Xian came over, she saw a young man saying, Hey, Missy, are you here for the hot pot buffet? The private room is still open today. Yi Xian was fascinated, but then she shook her head and said, Not today. I'll come another day. Okay, you can come anytime. Our school's private room has never been given to outsiders. Okay. Go ahead. Then Xia Xiaochan said, Is it the Fish Dragon Hot Pot restaurant? Yi Xian nodded repeatedly. Yes. Now the Fish Dragon's business has expanded to the Scattered Stars Island, specializing in food. The Fish Dragons have now opened a gourmet research association, recruiting all kinds of cooking enthusiasts to seek a breakthrough in cooking skills, trying to break the technical barrier left by senior brother Han Fei, and strive to walk out of the path of cooking left by senior brother Han Fei as soon as possible. Iner clicked her tongue. It seems that my brother's cooking skills are indeed unparalleled in the world. Xia Xiaochan was speechless. He's already so busy, and he still has the time to study this? After a while, they walked to the rows of small vendors along the river. Here, they sold all kinds of rare conch shells, energy sea cucumbers, exquisite ornaments, ordinary combat skills, cultivation techniques, miscellaneous articles, and so on. Yi Xian led them over and said, Boss, give me 2 copies of The Rise of the Cold Martial and The History of Heroes Commanding. Okay. Hey girl, we just bought a new book yesterday, called The Return of the Cold Martial. It's a high-quality book about the journey of the Cold Martial. Do you want it? I only have a few copies. Yi Xian's heart did a flip. A new book so soon? Is the author bragging about the small fish? The boss nodded. Yes. You must be an expert. Yi Xian's heart did a flip. Yes, 3 copies. Okay. Just as Yi Xian paid the money and handed the new books to Xia Xiaochan and Iner, she said, I heard that this big fish brags about the small fish. He's a rare storyteller. His brushwork is exquisite, it's extraordinary. All of a sudden, they saw a figure silently appear in front of them. Then, they saw Han Fei say with a dark face, Yi Xian, the Thug Academy belongs to you. You wander around all day long. You don't learn great skills or cultivate. Do you want to go to heaven? Yi Xian exclaimed, Senior brother Han Fei, I'm just taking senior sister Xiaochan and Iner shopping. Shopping is a woman's nature. Xia Xiaochan raised her eyebrows. Why? Are you going to interfere with us girls shopping? Han Fei was speechless. Whose side are you on? I'm on Yinyan's side. I. Han, Marshal Han? Oh my god, nice to meet you, Marshal Han. Wow. Marshal Han, look, Marshal Han. Oh my god. Marshal Han is really handsome and extraordinary. Where? Marshal Han, can I have an autograph? Marshal Han, I am your idol. Oh no, you are my fan. Something seems to be wrong. Suddenly, the street was in an uproar. In an instant, the crowd surged, and a large group of people rushed over. F***ck Han Fei immediately said, Come on, let's go back. With a swish, Han Fei, Xia Xiaochan, and the others disappeared into the crowd. The people who saw them disappear were all amazed, and those who heard the noise were still rushing in. Where is Marshal Han? Where did Marshal Han go? Where is Marshal Han? At this time, the peddler roared, Back off! Marshal Han has read books in my stall. He has touched these. Don't touch them. What? Boss, look at you. You're running a business. How can you not sell things? Come on, these 3 books are mine. Someone scolded angrily. First come, first served. Which book did Marshal Han touch just now? Is it this Return of Marshal Han? I'll buy it. Bulsh *T, I saw it first. The crowd was in an uproar. It was a mess. Han Fei, Xia Shaochan, and the others had appeared in an open space thousands of kilometers away. Han Fei said, Yi Xian, we have to keep a low profile, okay? You are a heavenly talent of the Thug Academy. If you wander around outside every day, I will ask Zhang Xuanyu to ground you. Ha ha ha. Han Fei didn't take Han Fei as a strong cultivator at all and even flirted with Han Fei. Han Fei, Xia Shaochan rolled her eyes. You're such a busybody. I propose to go out for a walk. Oh? Really? Then let's go later. I'm here for Yin-er. Yin-er. At this moment, Han Fei's impression in Yin-er's eyes had completely changed. Yin-er's first impression of Han Fei was that he was domineering, arrogant, terrifying, and majestic. However, it seemed that this was not the case at all. This was a henpecked, annoying senior brother. None of the junior brothers and sisters were afraid of him. This feeling made her feel much closer to him. Xia Shaochan wondered, Why are you looking for Yin-er? Han Fei nodded. I've finished my business. I'm going to take Yin-er to see a doctor. I may have to go for a while. Why don't you stay on the Scattered Stars Island for me? Xia Shaochan nodded. It's more important to treat the doctor. I want to know more about the Scattered Stars Island. Xiaobai is going to sleep with me tonight. You can go. Han Fei. Chapter 1875. Han Fei's purpose in going to the chaotic vast sea was to find Yin-er. These days, Han Fei had been tormented by the trouble of the cage crack for 2 or 3 days, and he was already impatient. No matter when Yin-er was going to undergo her tribulation, she would have to fuse her Yang soul and Yin soul together first. Only then could Yin-er's illness be cured, and he could be considered a complete modern human. At this moment, Han Fei and Yin-er stood outside the Sky Meditation Garden. Because Han Fei had changed his appearance, no one could recognize him. Han Fei said, Yin-er, your soul is in the Sky Meditation Garden. When the Yin soul fuses into your body, your heavenly meridian constitution will be fully activated. At that time, your strength should instantly break through to the next realm. Keep the resources I give you on standby at any time. You've been stuck at the peak of Law Enforcer for decades. Once you break through, I'm afraid you'll consume a lot of energy. Yin-er was also extremely nervous at this moment. She even subconsciously grabbed Han Fei's clothes and looked at the meditation garden in the sky anxiously. She turned to look at Han Fei, and for the first time, she showed a helpless expression. Will I still be me? Han Fei nodded. Of course, you will still be you, and your memories will not be lost. Your soul is still very young, it will not affect your memory. Come, I'll go with you. And Han Fei had promised Yin-er that he would visit her often. However, he had only visited her twice in total. This time, it was a huge matter of Yin-er's soul and body merging, so he had to accompany her. When Han Fei and Yin-er entered the Sky Meditation Garden, the vast grassland and the blue sky were the same as before, without any change. However, the moment Han Fei and Yin-er entered the Sky Meditation Garden, some ancient visualized objects in the Sky Meditation Garden collapsed in an instant with a series of bangs. What happened? Many people were visualizing certain objects. All of a sudden, the visualization object was gone. Naturally, they were very surprised. Sensing this change, Han Fei immediately said, I'm Han Fei. From now on, I'll transform the Sky Meditation Garden. Please wait patiently. Now, everyone, leave the Sky Meditation Garden immediately. Is it Marshal Han? General Han is going to remodel the Sky Meditation Garden. Well, No wonder there was a strange movement in the Sky Meditation Garden. Looks like Commander Han is planning something big. Marshal Han has indeed returned. It's said that he killed many half-monarchs in one strike. It's very likely that he's already become a monarch. Let's go quickly and wait outside the Sky Meditation Garden. Han Fei summoned thousands of projections at the same time and set up thousands of teleportation arrays. In less than the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the Sky Meditation Garden was cleared. As for Yin-Er, she had already walked past some meditation objects: rubber balls, wooden horses, wind chimes, slides. Wherever Yin-Er's body went, there would be an illusory white color appearing. Han Fei followed him secretly. Yin-Er did not come looking for him right from the start. Naturally, she had also sensed something. A connection was formed between the main body and the Yin soul. Now they were just one step away. It all depended on when they would fuse together. After 4 hours, Yin-Er's main body walked through the entire Sky Meditation Garden and arrived at the center of the Infinity Tower. Suddenly, from the bottom of the Infinity Tower, a white shadow appeared. Han Fei could clearly sense that some weird changes had taken place in the space. This kind of change should be the change that occurred when he was pulled into Yin-Er's world by Yin-Er. However, this kind of power couldn't exclude a strong master like Han Fei. Therefore, Han Fei could see Yin-Er's main body and a child a few years old, facing each other. Yin-Er's main body didn't know what she felt. Suddenly, she began to sob slightly. However, the expression on her face occasionally showed a smile, and occasionally showed sadness. The main body and the Yin soul looked at each other for about 10 minutes, and then slowly stretched out their respective fingers. As if they were in perfect harmony, the Yin soul suddenly turned into a wisp of green smoke and directly sank into Yin-Er's body. The next moment, Yin-Er's body began to tremble slightly. Ah! With a long roar, Yin-Er opened the sun-moon shell at the critical moment. In an instant, a massive number of ownerless souls escaped from those ancient meditation objects in the entire Sky Meditation Garden. From the ground of the Sky Meditation Garden, infinite spiritual energy and energy emerged. Coupled with Han Fei's preparation, almost in an instant there was a change in the Sky Meditation Garden. Thousands of vortexes of spiritual energy appeared, all converging at the bottom of the Infinity Tower. Crack, the sound of a breakthrough appeared. The energy in Yin-Er's body seemed to explode all at once and began to run wildly. 2 hours. 2 hours. The breakthrough took a total of 16 hours. Yin-Er had broken through 4 small realms in a row. Logically speaking, this breakthrough should be almost over. After all, Yin-Er was not like Nian-Er, who might have accumulated a physique for tens of thousands of years. After the breakthrough, she could jump 4 levels in one go, which was already extremely terrifying. Now, she was not a law enforcer, but an explorer. She was equivalent to directly entering the realm of an intermediate explorer. In the 18th hour, as Han Fei expected, Yin-Er barely broke through to the 5th level. This breakthrough came to an abrupt end. Just when Han Fei thought Yin-Er was going to end this breakthrough, he saw Yin-Er sit cross-legged, with golden light flashing between her eyebrows. The old turtle suddenly said, "She is awakening a spiritual beast." Han Fei looked surprised. It was said that Yin-Er had never had a spiritual beast. At that time, Han Fei felt strange. He didn't expect that Yin-Er's spiritual beast would be awakened at this time. However, thinking about it, it seemed to make sense. He didn't rise until his transmigration body merged with his original body. Perhaps his awakening process was the same as Yin-Er's. Wasn't this? Han Fei waited for another half an hour. At this time, he saw a blue-gold goldfish, swaying its body, appearing in the void. Its body was not big, only 1 foot long, but its tail was 3 feet long and had 9 tails. In Han Fei's eyes, information emerged. Name: Nine-tailed immortal phoenix. Introduction. This is an ancient divine beast, the nine-tailed immortal phoenix, one of the most beautiful fish in this world. It has an immortal body. The 9 tails of the 9-tailed immortal phoenix contain the vitality of the 9-tailed immortal phoenix. When the 9-tailed immortal phoenix is fatally injured, it will burn one of its tails to be reborn. After rebirth, it will temporarily gain 9 times its combat power. If it wants to cultivate its lost tail back, it must undergo a tribulation. With its own divine skill, it can gain up to 9 times its strength in a short time according to its strength. Level 1 quality, divine beast storage of spiritual energy greater than 1000 points, food omnivorous. Like shrimps and shellfish remarks, divine beasts have the opportunity to become gods. Wow, after seeing the information of the 9-tailed immortal, Han Fei couldn't help but take a breath. Damn, a divine beast. In his life, the only opportunity to see a divine beast turned out to be his sister. Divine beasts, with their own divine skills, can gain up to 9 times their strength according to their own strength. Is this a joke? Han Fei himself could only increase his strength by 3 times with the help of the Great Path. Plus the invincible eye, it was only 4 times. If he was in a state of frenzy, he could activate the chaotic energy and burn his essence and blood at most 5 times. It was almost impossible to increase his strength higher than this number. But now Han Fei saw a spiritual beast with its own divine skill that could increase its combat power by 9 times. At that moment, he felt unwell. However, Han Fei still breathed a long sigh of relief. After all, this was his sister, not his enemy. Otherwise, if a person who was in the same growth state as him had such a spiritual beast, to be honest, he really wasn't sure. Phew, Ina let out a long breath. The surrounding energy and spiritual energy began to calm down. Except for her strength, she was still a little unstable, but everything was fine now. Her heavenly meridians should have been fully opened. As soon as Ina opened her eyes, she saw the 9-tailed immortal swimming around her. The goldfish's eyes were particularly attractive. Secondly, there was its long tail, which was like a long gauze ribbon. Ina suddenly covered her mouth, then looked in Han Fei's direction and exclaimed, "I have a spiritual beast?" Han Fei smiled and said, "There is only one divine beast in the chaotic ocean." Ina froze and tears flowed down her cheeks. Ever since she was a child, she had given up on having a spiritual beast. Who could have expected that today, not only did she recover from her serious illness, but she also awakened a spiritual beast. Ina hugged the 9-tailed immortal and seemed to want to feel the taste of her spiritual beast. Suddenly, she remembered something. She ran towards Han Fei and hugged him. "Brother, thank you." Han Fei grinned and laughed. "What are you thanking me for? We are a family. Don't be so polite." Ina said, "If you hadn't gone to the glass sky to find me, I don't know how many more years of hardship I would have suffered." Alas, suddenly, a sigh attracted the attention of Han Fei and Ina. Han Fei suddenly looked sideways, only to see an elegant figure appearing not far away, looking at him with mixed feelings. Han Fei couldn't help but exclaim, "Shoot, old Han." Han Fei was stunned. He had always thought that old Han was no longer in the yin-yang heaven. He didn't expect that he was in the sky meditation garden. Chapter 1876. Han Guanshu's appearance was beyond Han Fei's expectation. However, this was also a good thing. Yin-Er had never seen her father since she was a child. Now that old Han was here, it was a blessing. However, Han Fei immediately found that something was wrong. This old Han had almost no power. Sure enough, Han Guanshu smiled faintly. "I'm just a soul. I stay here just to witness it." Han Fei nodded slightly and said to Yin-Er, "Here? This is our father. His real body has gone out to do something big. I left my soul here to look at you." As for Yin-Er, perhaps because of the fusion with the ghost, she might have some vague memories of the ghost. Therefore, when she saw Han Guanshu, she subconsciously wanted to trot over. However, after running a few steps, she found that something was wrong. For her, although Han Guanshu was her biological father, At least he looked like a stranger. Han Guanshu smiled gently, seeming to understand Yin-Er's feelings. He said, Yin-Er, don't be afraid. You should only have a very vague memory now. But anyway, it's better than your brother before. He didn't even have a vague memory before. Now you and your sister are reunited and can take care of each other. This can be regarded as fulfilling one of my wishes. With that said, Han Guanshu looked at Han Fei. I'm relieved to see that you have found your sister. I've solved half of my problems, and I can go do my own things with peace of mind. Han Fei said, You didn't go to the chaotic ocean, did you? You moved into the savage abyss on your own initiative. Even if you disappeared in the savage abyss. The only possibility I can think of is time. But where did you get the ability to cross the river of time? Han Guanshu smiled faintly. Don't make wild guesses. If you want to, wait until you become an emperor and then consider this matter. Maybe by then, I will have brought your mother back. Han Fei rolled his eyes. If you could bring her back, you would have done so long ago. Why wait until now? Han Guanshu shook his head slightly. It's different. I had concerns before. Okay, since Yin-Er is back, there is only one thing left. Don't worry and let her go to the ideal palace. Everyone has their own destiny. Since you're already living in the present, then it's extremely difficult for the powers of the past to obstruct you. This trip should be quite smooth. When Yin-Er's old body and current body fuse again, the Yin-Yang Heavens crisis will be resolved. Han Fei shrugged. You don't have to worry about it. I'll take care of it. Then Han Fei said, Okay, you two have a talk. I'm going to take a look at this yard. I need to tidy it up. About half an hour later, Yin-Er said to Han Fei, who was eavesdropping, Brother, stop eavesdropping, let's go. Cough cough. What? Am I the kind of person who would eavesdrop? By the way, what did old Han say just now? Yin-Er was also speechless. You've already heard everything you should have heard. Why are you still asking when you already know the answer? Yin-Er said, Brother, I want to go to that ideal palace. No. Han Fei immediately objected and said, I mean, not now. You've just awakened your spiritual beast, and you lack combat skills, knowledge, and spells in all aspects. You need to train under me for 2 months. In these 2 months, I won't be lenient. When you can beat me, who is in the same realm as you, is when you can go to the ideal palace. Then Han Fei said, Let's go to the 1,000-star proving ground with me. After a moment, in the 9-star secret realm of the 1,000-star proving ground, Han Fei said, This place has 10 times the space acceleration. 1 day of cultivation here is equivalent to 10 days of cultivation in the outside world. 2 months of special training will begin today. With a thought from Han Fei, the ice snow lotus appeared. Han Fei said, This thing is called the ice snow lotus. You can sit cross-legged on it and cultivate. The effect will be doubled with half the effort. Your previous realm was unstable. Cultivate the pure mystic body first, refine your strength, and improve your physique several times. Yin-Er nodded slightly. She also knew that she was going to have her own personal trial. This trial would allow her to completely belong to this era. Therefore, she could understand Han Fei's concerns and requirements. With Han Fei personally accompanying her and a huge amount of resources for Yin-Er to use, her physique made rapid progress. Originally, the pure mystic body was a cultivation method that consumed energy. With the bonus of the ice snow lotus and the time acceleration, it only took 6 months for Yin-Er's strength to drop again and again, from an intermediate explorer to a beginner explorer. From level 85, she directly dropped to level 80. This kind of drop in realm didn't make Yin-Er's strength decline at all. Instead, it made her reach an extremely strong level in the beginner explorer realm. As the saying went, Rome is not built in a day. Han Fei didn't expect to train Yin-Er to his original level in one go. Therefore, after completing the preliminary body refining, Han Fei began to teach her the 108 Desolate God body. although the body refining effect of this great technique was far inferior to that of the pure mystic body. However, its movement technique was extremely useful. With this movement technique, one's combat power could be doubled. 8 months later. In the secret realm, a young woman was like a phantom, holding 2 knives in her hands, fighting with a projection of Han Fei. And on the side, Han Fei said, "Fighting pays attention to changes. In close combat, I've taught you. When you're not strong enough, remember to use the opponent's strength to fight back." Bm. Suddenly, Yin-Er's blood surged, and her strength soared twice. She used Han Fei's draw technique. However, it was slightly modified and not as strong as a full blow. This change sacrificed her combat power and enhanced her ability to fight fast. However, it was a pity that although Xian Feng personally taught Yin-Er, because Yin-Er couldn't be cultivated for a long time. Therefore, Xian Feng didn't dare to really teach Yin-Er, for fear that Yin-Er's power would be stimulated and she would be unable to suppress her breakthrough. Therefore, Yin-Er hadn't formed her own independent combat technique system yet. In the past year or so, Han Fei had taught her everything he knew. Almost all the combat techniques that he knew and could be learned quickly were taught to her. Of course, Yin-Er only chose some specific combat techniques according to her preferences, although Yin-Er could hardly surpass him in this kind of teaching method. However, in terms of combat power, there were probably not many people who could surpass Yin-Er in the junior explorer realm. Han Fei knew that he couldn't teach her more. Yin-Er would eventually have to walk on her own path of cultivation. Therefore, the rest of the road was up to her. The 2-month teaching time was almost over. Although Yin-Er failed to defeat Han Fei, he couldn't really stop her from entering the ideal palace. On this day, Han Fei said, "Yin-Er, from today on, I'll teach you a new lesson. Listen carefully. How much you can master depends on your own ability." Yin-Er nodded hard. Although she was a little tired in the past year, it was the happiest moment of her life. It felt really good to be with her brother. Even from teacher Xian Feng, she didn't feel this kind of love from family. Han Fei and Yin-Er sat cross-legged. Han Fei said, "Listen carefully. Cultivators cultivate against the heavens and cultivate a firm Taoist heart. And the Taoist heart, to put it bluntly, is the heart toward the Tao. But most people don't understand the true meaning of it at all. Among them, the most important thing for everyone is that the degree of disassembly of spiritual energy can reach a perfect state. The so-called disassembly is actually deconstruction, also known as composition." Yin-Er could still hear the first few words. However, when Han Fei talked about the degree of disassembly of spiritual energy, almost in an instant, Yin-Er's eyelids drooped and she directly fell asleep. Han Fei had known this, but he didn't stop talking. In fact, it only took him half an hour to really talk about the so-called Taoist heart. However, he repeated it for a whole day in total, only hoping that Yin-Er could listen repeatedly in her sleep and have a feeling. 1 day later, Yin-Er showed no signs of waking up. Han Fei controlled the demon purification pot and took out Ji Xian's azure dragon sword, Chun Hao's 5-element wheel, and the fragments of sea-quelling bizarre treasures that Dongfang Ming and Bai Jingjiu exchanged with him. 3 sea-quelling bizarre treasures were put into the demon purification pot to refine a brand new sea-quelling bizarre treasure. In the past, the demon purification pot couldn't refine sea-quelling bizarre treasures because the conditions were limited and the vines didn't collect all of them. But now, it was no longer a problem for the demon purification pot. Han Fei thought to himself, refine a weapon that can freely change its shape like the infinity water, because Han Fei didn't know which path Yin-Er would choose in the end. What path? What path? Therefore, it was very meaningful for her to have a weapon that could change its shape at will. The demon purification pot certainly lived up to Han Fei's expectations, but the consumption of spiritual energy was a bit beyond Han Fei's expectation. He didn't know if it was because it was too difficult to refine a sea-quelling bizarre treasure, but it consumed 500,000 ultra-quality spiritual stones. Han Fei didn't think that the demon purification pot completely absorbed all the 500,000 ultra-quality spiritual stones. Maybe it only absorbed their essence. But in the end, this price was still something he could bear. After that, Han Fei sent another divine demon vine leaf into the demon purification pot. After consuming more than 500,000 top-grade spirit stones, a cyan dress with immortal chi appeared in the air. Chapter 1877. Sea-quelling bizarre treasures generally had their own unique uses. Although the first weapon Han Fei refined was shaped like a knife, its characteristics were ever-changing and could be used as any weapon. Han Fei intended to give Yin-Er the divine demonic vine leaves for self-defense. Therefore, when he refined it, he didn't want to add any other abilities, but mainly used its power for defense. When Yin-Er woke up from her epiphany, Han Fei didn't give these two things to her directly, but said, "Try to disassemble spiritual energy now." Yin-Er seemed to understand something and carried out disassembling spiritual energy for 7 days in a row. In the end, the disassembling spiritual energy fell on the basis of 68%. Han Fei thought to himself, "I didn't reach such a high level at first." After all, Yin-Er was only a junior explorer, and her disassembling spiritual energy was high enough. On this day, Yin-Er seemed to feel something and said, "Brother, should I go to the trial?" Han Fei nodded slightly. "Remember, in the trial, you may not know who you are and where you come from. Or maybe you know who you are and where you come from. The real meaning of going to the trial is to find a direction and find your true self." Yin-Er smiled at Han Fei. "I know. The trial is also dangerous. I'm glad you know. I have 2 things for you. After the blood recognition, I may need a lot of essence blood in your body. But it doesn't matter. I will keep an eye on you and restore your essence blood at any time. Don't worry." After that, Han Fei took out a long knife and the green dress. Yin-Er was not a blind person. When she saw the glowing dress, she couldn't help but exclaim, "A sea-quelling bizarre treasure?" Han Fei said lightly, "Don't rely too much on this thing. It's just a low-quality sea-quelling bizarre treasure. Even so, it didn't mean that you could use it just because you wanted to. The use of the sea-quelling bizarre treasure will be judged according to your own strength." With that, the knife flew to Yin-Er. "Recognize me as your master." Yin-Er's heart warmed. Is this what it feels like to have a brother? When Yin-Er cut her palm, a small half of her blood essence was instantly sucked out. Seeing this, Han Fei simply protected it with the Apocalypse Divine technique. It took Yin-Er 2 hours to reclaim the 2 sea-quelling bizarre treasures. At this moment, Han Fei said, "Yin-Er, this is all I can do for you. Let me ask for one last protection for you. From now on, even after you return, what path you want to take, how you want to take it, and why you want to take it, these are all things that you should think about yourself. I've already taught you everything I can in the past 2 months. Yin-Er's eyes reddened. She knew Han Fei's good intentions and sobbed. "Thank you, brother." That was all Han Fei could do. In the end, blue halos intertwined in Han Fei's hands. The time ring that he was wearing turned into a thin bracelet on Yin-Er's wrist. Han Fei said, "Yin-Er, remember this. It could be your way back." After half a day, Yin-Er entered the ideal palace. This time, Han Fei didn't accompany her. Back then, he and the others also walked through the soul realm one by one. So far, his name should still be left on the stone tablet in the ideal palace. From the moment Yin-Er stepped into the ideal palace, Yin-Er had to rely on herself to walk her own path. What would she encounter? What would she experience? Everything depended on her own luck, and he had basically given her everything he could. In fact, although he was helping her hone her skills, Han Fei was still worried that he would spoil her too much. Therefore, reason told Han Fei that this kind of behavior had to be stopped. Everyone in the Thug Academy had gone through this. They were like this, Chu Jinan and the others were like this, and so were Yi Xian and the others. The protection of the academy was only on the surface. They were the only ones who knew the true dangers they had been through. At the moment when Einar entered the ideal palace, Han Fei quietly returned to the Sky Meditation Garden. At this moment, the Sky Meditation Garden was in a state of lockdown. Han Fei sealed the entrance until Einar came out. Unless something major happened, he would not return to the Scattered Stars Island. During this period, Han Fei could breathe a sigh of relief and think about his own affairs. Han Fei immediately took out the Xian Yellow Sutra. After skimming through it, information appeared in his mind. Xian Yellow Sutra, Sea Expansion Realm, Introduction. Xian Yellow, the color of heaven and earth, the pure and turbid air flows together, the beginning of the convergence of yin and yang. Xian Yellow is the mixed color of heaven and earth, containing the Tao of all kinds of laws. The Xian Yellow Qi is also the mixed Qi of the Great Way. Although it is mixed, it has infinite power. The dragon swallows the Xian Yellow Qi to cultivate, so the dragon fights in the wild, and its blood is Xian Yellow. Therefore, the dragon-slaying art must be cut by the Xian Yellow Qi. Deduced art. Heaven and Earth Scroll Consumption, 1,000 wisps of chaotic Qi effect. When practicing this art, you can condense the mixed Qi of the Great Way, like the power of heaven. Disadvantage. The mixed Qi of the Great Way is not beneficial to the body. Note: cultivate carefully. After reading the information of the Xian Yellow Sutra, Han Fei's heart sank. If it was just the Xian Yellow Sutra, Han Fei wouldn't be interested in it. According to the introduction, although the Xian Yellow Qi was powerful, it was very mixed. Even if it could be powerful for a period of time, as its realm improved, it would be disturbed by the mixed Qi of the Great Way, which might limit its growth. The reason why the dragon-slaying art could slay dragons was that it used the power of the Xian Yellow Qi to slay dragons, because the dragon race devoured this kind of energy to cultivate. In this way, Han Fei also understood that the dragon-slaying art might be powerful, but it could only be used in the Pioneer Sea realm. Although they claimed to be dragon slayers, they had to sacrifice their own cultivation potential to cultivate the powerful dragon-slaying art. Han Fei couldn't help but shake his head. He suspected that Zhao Xianglong's cultivation had a problem, and it was probably because of the Xian Yellow Sutra. If one ate too much of the mixed Qi of the Great Way, it would be hard not to go crazy. Han Fei's first thought was to abandon these great arts, because Han Fei felt that he still had a long way to go. If he took this road, wouldn't it be the end of the road? However, Han Fei suddenly thought of something. Since the heaven and earth Qi could be said to be heterogeneous, could it be said to be pure? Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Old Yuan, do you know what kind of power is above the Xian Yellow Qi?" The old turtle said, "The Xian Yellow Qi and the chaotic Qi are actually of the same level. Their upper limit is very high, but what about the power above the two? To be honest, it's not beyond the two. In the Age of Gods there are demonic power, ferocious spirit, and immortal spirit. These three kinds are actually high-quality heaven and earth spiritual Qi. Perhaps they can also be combined with the will of cultivators. So, generally speaking, when the chaotic Qi reaches the extreme, it will go these three ways. I don't know the Xian Yellow Qi, but it's just these three ways." Han Fei's heart did a flip. "You mean, when the chaotic Qi and the Xian Yellow Qi are pure to a certain extent, they will become these kinds of powers?" The old turtle said, "Maybe. Anyway, I was possessed by the chaotic Qi. The devil might that was born, is that black fog. Unfortunately, I can only take a small part out." Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. The old turtle's demonic power was really powerful. It could be seen from the fact that the old turtle could resist a king with a wisp of his remnant soul. Besides, the demonic power was so powerful that it devoured vitality and essence. It was indeed not weak. Hearing the old turtle's words, Han Fei thought to himself, "I have the yin-yang millstone. I wonder what kind of power the Xian Yellow Qi will become after being purified by the yin-yang millstone. Without hesitation, Han Fei found a way to obtain energy. With the yin-yang millstone, Han Fei was confident that he wouldn't devour the impure Xian Yellow Qi. 3 days later, in the meditation garden in the sky, the yellowish-brown power was absorbed into Han Fei's body. And in Han Fei's body, a fist-sized yin-yang millstone was spinning. A large amount of impure power escaped from his body and disappeared without a trace. However, a very small part of the power drilled into his body. When Han Fei sensed the heaven and earth qi that had been refined, he suddenly felt that his aura had risen to a higher level in an instant. Han Fei, what are you doing? The ferocious qi will conflict with the chaotic qi. Are you okay? Suddenly, the old turtle seemed to be startled and hurriedly said, The power of your millstone can purify the real ferocious qi? Han Fei felt this power wandering in his body. Han Fei discovered, to his surprise, that the power was even higher than the chaotic energy. Han Fei had a feeling that if this strand of ferocious qi was released, he would probably gain the power to kill a king. Han Fei asked, What are the benefits of cultivating ferocious qi? The old turtle said, I don't know. Ferocious qi was the top power in the barbaric era. In the Age of Gods, everyone used the chaotic qi to go to the extreme and gave birth to immortal spiritual energy. I also have someone like me, someone who gave birth to devil might through becoming a devil. However, whether in the barbaric era or the Age of Gods, the power of the demonic Tao seemed to be only demonic power, not immortal spiritual energy or ferocious qi. Han Fei seemed to understand. It seemed that when the chaotic qi went to the extreme, it could give birth to immortal spiritual energy. When the Xian Yellow Qi went to the extreme, it could give birth to ferocious qi. The old turtle just exclaimed that the ferocious qi would conflict with the chaotic qi, which made Han Fei suspicious. What do you mean by conflict? The old turtle was also very puzzled. It shouldn't be. Originally, these were two incompatible powers. Just like immortal spiritual energy and ferocious qi, they shouldn't exist at the same time. But why is it that when it reaches your body, it actually calms down? Chapter 1878. Han Fei was touched by the old turtle's words. Han Fei immediately realized that if what the old turtle said was true, and he didn't feel any conflict of power, did this mean that he could store these two kinds of power in his body at the same time? Han Fei murmured, Is this related to my second spiritual heritage? Although he had known that he had two spiritual heritage, the demon purification pot had never given him specific information about the two spiritual heritage. Therefore, Han Fei didn't know what power these two spiritual heritage had. Now, when he could accommodate the chaotic qi and the demonic qi at the same time, Han Fei suddenly realized that the nature of his two heavenly veins might be very different. It was like he had awakened the twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fishes and the ferocious emperor sparrow. If his two heavenly veins were like this, then he might be able to cultivate these two kinds of power at the same time. Han Fei's heart did a flip. Now, he had only condensed a strand of demonic qi. However, this fiendish aura was of a higher grade than the primal chaos aura. Perhaps it couldn't tell whether the two were in conflict. Therefore, Han Fei directly transferred 10 strands of chaotic qi and placed them in the yin-yang millstone. In just a moment, the 10 strands of chaotic qi turned into a small wisp of some kind of spiritual energy that was flickering with green light. Immortal spiritual energy? The old turtle was speechless. Your millstone can extract immortal spiritual energy so easily? Doesn't it mean that you can use the power of the Emperor in advance? Han Fei's heart did a flip. The power of the Emperor? Does the Emperor use this? The old turtle nodded. The power used by the Emperor may not be as pure as yours. But your power comes too slowly. It's not enough for me to fight. The corners of Han Fei's mouth twitched, and he ignored the old turtle. He was still in the experimental stage. If he could have both kinds of power, although he didn't know what use they would have now, he would definitely know in the future. However, he would definitely find out in the future. It was impossible for there to be no benefits at all. Therefore, Han Fei controlled the immortal spiritual energy and the demonic qi, trying to intertwine the two. However, a miraculous scene appeared. Although these two powers existed in his body, and they could even be very close to each other. However, when he tried to make these two forces intertwine, he realized that they were like two identical magnetic poles. No matter how hard he tried, they could not touch each other. Even though Han Fei tried his best to make the two touch, they were like black and white. Even if it was a misalignment, he would not touch it. Tisk interesting. These two powers can indeed coexist in your body. Han Fei was lost for words. Do I need you to tell me that? Isn't it obvious? The old turtle said, but no matter what, those two powers aren't very useful to you right now. How much power did you use to get them? With your current strength, you don't even dare to think about using them as ordinary powers. Han Fei curled his lips. The old turtle was right. Right now, it was indeed a little difficult to obtain these powers. However, Han Fei frowned. It's indeed difficult. But these two powers are very strong. If he could use these two powers as a trump card, then it would be a comfort to him. At the very least, the things that he had researched could still be used. Two mutually repulsive powers. Use them as yin-yang infinite knives? I wonder how effective they are. Han Fei did as he said. Yin-yang infinite knives used the great way of yin and yang. However, the immortal spiritual energy and the demonic qi also seemed to be two mutually repulsive powers. In a sense, they were somewhat similar to the way of yin and yang. As soon as Han Fei exerted his power, suddenly, the sky and the earth changed color. The immortal spiritual energy and the demonic qi instantly soared into the sky. With a puff, they directly broke through the seal of the Sky Meditation Garden and rushed toward the sky. The Sky Meditation Garden, one of the 3 holy lands, had a powerful seal that had never been broken. But now a hole was directly pierced through it. Before Han Fei sensed it, the yin-yang infinite knives condensed by the immortal spiritual energy and the demonic qi leaped more than 300 kilometers into the sky. Swish, Han Fei thought, not good. Immediately, Han Fei chased out and broke through the sky in an instant. However, at this moment, it was not so easy for Han Fei to take back the yin-yang infinite knives. These two powers burst out, and it was extremely difficult for him to take them back. Seeing that they were a little out of control, Han Fei hurriedly removed part of the power that could be controlled. Then, he deliberately made these two powers collapse. Rumble in the distant sky, boundless tremors and ripples swept across the sky for thousands of miles. The flowing clouds in the sky were completely cleared. The ripples in the void were visible to the naked eye. At that moment, in the 1,000-star city, countless people looked up at the sky. Some of the stronger ones could see a person being blasted straight down by the terrifying ripples. Needless to say, the person who was blasted down was Han Fei himself, the initiator of this explosion. After more than 100 minutes, seeing that the power didn't fall in the 1,000-star city, everyone was relieved. Han Fei's clothes were torn, and blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth. Casting a heavenly awakening divine technique on himself, Han Fei cursed and stood up. What a terrifying power! Did I make this myself? Son of AB*TCH, I can't control this power. The old turtle scoffed. This is not a power that a half-king like you can control. This kind of power, even in the heaven-opening state, is not something that everyone can have. I have to say that your yin and yang great path is indeed strange. Han Fei put his hand on his old waist, changed his clothes, and looked at the array that was automatically repaired, then let out a long sigh of relief. Compared with the power of the immortal spiritual energy and the ferocious energy, the dragon-slaying art was nothing. It would be strange if he couldn't kill a dragon with this slash. At this moment, outside the sky meditation garden, countless people looked up, feeling that something big must have happened inside. But the next moment, Han Fei's voice sounded. "Oh, I made a mistake and caused some noise. The sky meditation garden is still being rebuilt. Everyone, please wait patiently." Phew, someone patted his chest and said, "It was a false alarm, a false alarm." Someone sighed with emotion. General Han must have made a big move this time. This power has already blown up the sky. It's not simple. Someone said, "From now on, we must not leave the sky meditation garden. The first one to go in will have a great harvest." "Agreed, brother, I'll stay with you." On the other side, Han Fei re-entered the sky meditation garden. As he walked, Han Fei murmured, "This power is too strong. In terms of power, it is no less than the Tao Convergence Sword. In terms of power, it is even better, but the consumption is much higher than the Tao Convergence Sword. It's a pity that it can only be used as a backup and can't be used as a mainstream offensive combat skill. However, it's obviously not suitable to be called the Yin-Yang reincarnation knife. Since it's the burst of immortal spiritual energy and ferocious energy, it should be called the immortal evil chi." Perfect. Thinking about it, Han Fei entered Forge the Universe and refined another wisp of immortal spiritual energy and ferocious energy. After that, he stopped thinking about this matter. In Forge the Universe, Han Fei stayed for another year and took more than 800 kinds of poisons. After taking the medicine, Han Fei spent most of the rest of the time practicing the void fire refining art. This was actually a refining art, but it had the dual effect of refining the body and the soul. And the effect was excellent. Therefore, its ranking was also extremely high. To practice this art, one needed to enter the void realm and master the fire of nothingness. Han Fei wasn't sure if he could enter such a place in Forge the Universe. However, it took Han Fei half a year to understand that the so-called void realm was actually the void of the mind. The fire of nothingness was actually a fire of visualization in the form of spiritual power driven by the mind. It was also called the fire of nothingness. When Han Fei learned the basics of the void fire refining art, he began to refine. This fire refining art didn't require forging but only required materials. For the first time, Han Fei poured the fire of nothingness into a conch shell. When the conch shell melted, Han Fei needed to reconstruct his soul with the power of his soul. And his soul seemed to have become a mold. And spiritual power, an expendable power, became fuel. In the first half, Han Fei needed to mold the shape with the power of his soul. It was extremely exhausting. However, when the fire of nothingness really burned, Han Fei was shocked to find that the fire of nothingness burned into his body, as if he didn't want to waste it. Han Fei instantly understood that the person who created this great art didn't want to waste a trace of his power at all. He used the spiritual power born from his soul to refine. The remaining spiritual power from refining was used to integrate into his body and nourish it. His body, which was being nourished, was also cultivating amidst the torment. And during this period, when his soul had enough rest, his spiritual power was reborn, and the cycle began again. His spiritual power expanded again and again, which represented the strengthening of his soul power. And his body was also refined and nourished, so it would naturally become stronger. He cultivated like this for more than a year. Han Fei's soul power hadn't reached the limit. It could even be said that there was no limit to the power of the soul. However, the power contained in his body was so strong that Han Fei had already felt that the heavenly tribulation was coming in the sky meditation garden. At this time, Han Fei had to stop cultivating. Han Fei's current state, as shown by the demon purification pot, was extremely exaggerated. Owner Han Fei level greater than 89 half-king, See 10,000 Family Tree 2720986, Chaotic Energy greater than 2,246 Wisps, Spiritual Power 378003, Perception Range greater than 250,000 kilometers, Power greater than 39,999 Waves, First Spiritual Heritage unknown. Second Spiritual Heritage unknown. First Spiritual Beast Twin Yin-Yang Spirit Swallowing Fish level 80. Second Spiritual Beast Emperor Sparrow level 79. Main Art Void Arrival level 7 of Void Fishing King level Divine Quality. Chapter 1879. Han Fei had thought that the power of his soul would rise to a short-term limit before he stopped. However, it seemed that his physical strength limited the continued growth of his soul power. However, no matter what, Han Fei knew that at this stage, he really couldn't continue to grow. The time for the tribulation was coming. At this time, it had been almost a month since Iner entered the ideal palace. Of course, this was in the outside world. Since Han Fei couldn't cultivate anymore and Iner hadn't come out yet, Han Fei glanced at the sky meditation garden, and with a thought, he took out thousands of fish bones from Forge the Universe. With the fire of nothingness, Han Fei refined them into bone pillars that were more than 10 meters high in the blink of an eye. And on these pillars, Han Fei drew visualization diagrams one after another according to what he had seen and learned. The so-called visualization diagram could be understood as a kind of spiritual perception of a superior. After engraving this kind of thing, it would become a visualization object. Moreover, this visualization object could also have a slight connection with the owner. Finally, Han Fei came to the Infinite Tower. Han Fei could feel that there was some power of Taoist runes on the body of the tower. These powers were the fundamental reason why people had been stuck in the tower and couldn't go up. Han Fei's heart did a flip. If the power of these Taoist runes was excluded, this tower could be climbed. Han Fei's figure moved and appeared on the top of the tower. However, except for a few square bluestones, there was nothing else here. Han Fei pondered for a while, and casually took out an ultra-quality divine longsword from Forge the Universe that had just been refined. Han Fei held the hilt of the sword and sent a divine thought directly into the sword. Puff! The next moment, Han Fei casually inserted the sword into the bluestone, stepped on it, and a series of arrays appeared under his feet. The sword suddenly dimmed. Only at this moment was Han Fei satisfied. He said lightly, "I got the God-scaring painting by accident. It's good to keep it. In the future, someone will be able to break the infinite tower of the Sky Meditation Garden." Yes, the Sky Meditation Garden may become the most popular cultivation place in the Thousand-Star City. Han Fei held his hands behind his back and looked at the visualization fish bones standing up on the grassland. Then, after calculating the time, Han Fei decided to go to the ideal palace. More and more people had gathered outside the Sky Meditation Garden. In the beginning, there were only about 1,000 people, but now there were more than 1,000,000 people. Everyone was looking forward to it. However, the Sky Meditation Garden was only so big. Luo Xiaobai got the news and arranged for a capable assistant to come and see what Han Fei was up to. Buzz, as soon as Han Fei came out of the Sky Meditation Garden, he saw a sea of people and it was overcrowded. The moment Han Fei came out, those who were sitting cross-legged or chatting came back to themselves. "It's Marshal Han. Marshal Han has come out. General Han has come out. Has the transformation of the Sky Meditation Garden been successful?" How. General Han. For a time, everyone outside the Sky Meditation Garden was in an uproar. Wild roars could be heard incessantly. Their shouts were full of admiration for Han Fei. As soon as Han Fei came out, someone rushed over and cupped his hands at Han Fei. "Greetings, General Han." Han Fei glanced at the 8-star token on him and nodded slightly. "Did Luo Xiaobai ask you to come?" The man nodded. "Marshal asked me to come and see what's going on in the Sky Meditation Garden." Because the Sky Meditation Garden is only so big and there are too many people in the Thousand-Star City, I must have a basis to enter it. Han Fei nodded slightly. Luo Xiaobai was thoughtful, so he nodded and said, "The Sky Meditation Garden has been changed into a place to cultivate the power of the soul. As for how to implement the management, you can decide, as long as the procedures are not too troublesome. By the way, let the first batch go in and observe first, so that they can pass it on by word of mouth." "Yes, General Han." With that, Han Fei looked at the crowded crowd and said in a loud voice, "Everyone, listen up. From today on, the Sky Meditation Garden will be renovated. I have poured my heart and soul into rebuilding the Sky Meditation Garden. Today, anyone who comes can enter and experience it. But the rules can't be messed up. The Sky Meditation Garden will set up rules, and everyone must obey the management and arrangements. Okay, that's it. Let's go in." "Who?" "Charge. Don't rush. Don't block my position. Don't push. I'm flying." In an instant the crowd surged. Although everyone admired Han Fei very much. After all, he was a high and mighty figure and wouldn't have too much interaction with them. However, the Sky Meditation Garden was different. This was a place for cultivation. After Han Fei's renovation, it would definitely be better than before. If they could seize the opportunity and occupy a favorable position, they might have a big harvest. Han Fei saw the crowd was like a school of carps crossing the river. He couldn't stop it at all. It was densely packed with people. At this moment, these people didn't call him General Han anymore. When they rushed up, they completely forgot about Han Fei's existence. Han Fei was a little annoyed. He had just received a large wave of wish power, but in the blink of an eye, it dropped sharply. It seemed that compared to himself, fated chances were more welcomed by the people. Han Fei left quietly. When he reappeared, he had already disguised himself and appeared outside the Ideal Palace. At this moment, outside the Ideal Palace, the gate was deserted. Everyone knew that the Sky Meditation Garden had been rebuilt, so they all ran to the Sky Meditation Garden. Here, Han Fei deliberately let old Yuan out and said, "I'll go in for a while. It should be very fast. You wait outside. If my sister comes out, take care of her." Logically speaking, at Han Fei's current level, he shouldn't have entered the Ideal Palace, because the power in the Ideal Palace was completely suppressed. Even though Han Fei was half a king, he was suppressed to the level of a hidden fisher here. The third soul realm, the Blue Sea Soul Realm. Han Fei stepped into it and his speed soared, not caring about the sea monsters along the way. Even though Han Fei's strength was suppressed, his level was still very high, and these sea monsters couldn't resist him at all. In less than 5 hours, Han Fei reached the deepest part of the Blue Sea Soul Realm. As soon as he arrived here, Han Fei felt boundless pressure descending. However, this time was different from the last time. Last time, he was really only a hidden fisher. His soul power and soul strength couldn't compete with this azure dragon at all. This time, although Han Fei's realm was suppressed, the level of his soul was completely different. It was not until here that Han Fei realized that the so-called soul suppression was only in terms of soul level and life level. Although the life level of this azure dragon should be higher than his current level, the quality of its soul wasn't much better than his. Therefore, this time, Han Fei didn't feel any life-threatening crisis except for a little discomfort. For example, he couldn't move his feet. In the darkness, the enormous head of a blue dragon slowly appeared. "You're here? Did you bring my physical body?" Han Fei smiled faintly. "I found your body. It's also with me." Roar! All of a sudden, the giant eyes of the Tsang dragon narrowed into slits. It said eagerly, "Where is it? Give me your body." However, Han Fei was indifferent. "I've brought the body, but we have to renegotiate the conditions." Then, the nautical panorama appeared in Han Fei's hand. The nautical panorama turned slightly, and when the pointer pointed at the azure dragon, Han Fei immediately realized that this azure dragon was the one that Zhao Xianglong didn't kill. This old mother said, this dragon was devouring energy in the chaotic void and was almost trapped. She was the one who saved it. However, it seems that she still doesn't know the relationship between this azure dragon and the dragon subduing heaven. And this azure dragon is very likely to be the culprit who caused the dragon subduing heaven and slaughtered the dragons. At this moment, making a deal with such a dragon? How could Han Fei be attracted by the so-called drop of azure dragon essence blood and the dragon transformation technique? For Han Fei, he was never short of great technique. He even had so many great techniques that he couldn't learn them all. Besides, once he really entered the Void Temple, this dragon transformation technique, whose level was unknown, would be nothing. Han Fei said, I've found a body for you. But your reward is too simple. Do you know how much effort it took me to find your body? Roar, human, you are violating our trust. Do you think I can't touch you? Han Fei said disdainfully, don't threaten me. To put it bluntly, you're just intimidating this place with the pressure of your bloodline. Do you think you're great just because you're big? Believe it or not, I'll take your dragon body, take your bones, eat your flesh, and swallow your dragon essence. At this moment, Han Fei's fearless aura of a king was fully revealed. Threaten me? Even if you're an azure dragon, so what? I'll still beat you. Perhaps Han Fei's aura intimidated the azure dragon. Perhaps it was because it didn't have that much confidence. So, after pondering for a long time, the azure dragon lowered its voice and said, Human, what do you want in exchange? Han Fei smiled. First of all the chaotic energy in your body belongs to me. Impossible. Han Fei's eyes were full of ferocity. Impossible, then you'll die. In terms of ferocity, how dare a mere soul act fiercely in front of him? Han Fei thought to himself, if I don't teach you a lesson, do you really think you're so arrogant? Chapter 1880. In fact, Han Fei didn't have to find the azure dragon at all. Anyway, the azure dragon's corpse was with him, and he could use it whenever he wanted. Anyway, he had mastered the dragon slaying technique. If there really was a problem later on, he could just kill the azure dragon and be done with it. However, this azure dragon had an agreement with him to guard the chaotic original water for tens of thousands of years. Its grudge with Zhao Xianglong was not the same as that with the yin-yang heaven. Therefore, there were things that could be done but not done. Han Fei had said that he would help it find the corpse after taking the golden page. Now, the golden page was obtained and the corpse was found. Even if he had to use it, he had to use it openly. On the eve of the tribulation, although Han Fei wanted to get more chaotic energy, he didn't want to leave any obstacles in his heart. At this moment, Han Fei pointed at the azure dragon and said unkindly, You want to get a corpse from me with just a drop of the azure dragon's essence blood and the dragon transformation technique? In this world, such a beautiful thing only exists in dreams. The huge body of the azure dragon slowly stretched out its entire head. The two stared at each other for a full 100 minutes. The fierceness surging from Han Fei made the azure dragon feel a lingering fear. This child was a completely different person from before. My pressure didn't have the slightest effect on him. It thought to itself, I'm afraid this person's strength has reached an extremely high level. At least, he has reached the point of preparing for the tribulation. Otherwise, he wouldn't need so much chaotic energy. After 100 minutes, the azure dragon finally compromised. You can take the chaotic energy. That's what you're after. I'll give you a drop of essence blood and the dragon transformation technique. Give me my body. Han Fei said, There's one more condition. The azure dragon said in a low voice, Human, even dragons are not as greedy as you. Isn't it too much for you to ask for? Although I'm trapped, if I really go crazy, let's see if I can shake this world. Han Fei said indifferently, This condition is very simple. You need to tell me about the Dragon Clan and why the Dragon Clan is fighting with the human beings from the yin-yang heaven. After all, they are the human beings who summoned you. When the Azure Dragon was suddenly asked this question, he immediately had a bad feeling. Zhao Xianglong's soul ball had chased him for too long and almost killed him. Now, this person was also a human. Could he be related to Xianglong Tian? Song Long said, I don't understand what you're saying. Han Fei sneered. There's no need to pretend. I know what happened in the sky of Subduing Dragon. I'm also familiar with Zhao Xianglong. Right now, he was still trapped in a formation, unable to get out. He is him, I am me, I just need to know more about the Dragon Clan. For example, how did you get here? Do you belong to this era? Song Long asked, What do you want? I want to know what's going on outside the Chaotic Azure Sea. You should know where the Chaotic Azure Sea is, right? If you say you don't know, you can pretend I never came here today. Let's see if I can kill you or not. The Azure Dragon hesitated for a moment. The Dragon Clan did not perish in the endless flow of time. However, we are no longer as glorious as we were in the past. The reason why we came to the sky of Subduing Dragon is that the dragon control art of the primeval age was unearthed. And the people of the sky of Subduing Dragon cultivated this dragon control art. The Dragon Clan has a supreme bloodline. How could an ordinary human be able to maintain such a long lifespan? However, although they didn't master the essence of the dragon control art, they could summon us through the infinite void. As a result, you should know, the Dragon Clan was not convinced and naturally started a war. Dragon control art. Han Fei thought to himself, Zhao Xianglong still has a trick up his sleeve. He taught me the dragon slaying art, but not the dragon control art. At least, it sounded like the dragon control art was a level higher than the dragon slaying art. However, Han Fei was not interested in the dragon control art now. Because of this dragon control art, Zhao Xianglong almost destroyed the entire sky of Subduing Dragon, causing the death of countless humans. If Han Fei learned it, if he encountered another enemy that was not easy to deal with, the Yinyang Heaven would probably be destroyed. Han Fei said, Where do the Dragon Clan live? Is it outside the Chaotic Azure Sea? The Azure Dragon said, Of course, this world is very big. Although the Chaotic Azure Sea is not small, it is still too small compared to the outside world. Outside the Chaotic Azure Sea is the territory of the myriad races. There are thousands of races there. Except for the Dragon Clan who lives in the Dragon Palace and Dragon Valley, there are countless other races. Even in the Star Sea, there are strange beasts running rampant. Therefore, this dragon doesn't think that I will have any interaction with the humans here. Everything this dragon wants is to leave this Chaotic Azure Sea. Han Fei wondered, Can you leave? The Azure Dragon said, The Dragon Clan can travel in the infinite void. And in the infinite void, although you may get lost, you may also open a new exit. Although I can't leave from your Chaotic Azure Sea, I can leave from the infinite void. Han Fei scorned in his heart. Back then, you were caught in the infinite void. Now, you want to leave from the infinite void? How can I believe it? However, Han Fei was not interested in how the Azure Dragon left. He said to himself, You can tell me as much as you can about the outside world, about the myriad races, about the sea demons, and so on. Don't worry, I won't ask you for anything else. However, the Azure Dragon shook its head slightly. I'm afraid I can't tell you anything. Han Fei was puzzled. Why? The Azure Dragon said, The Dragon Clan has been living in seclusion for millions of years. What is the outside world you mentioned? I don't know. When I told you about the myriad races, I heard it from my elders. Although there were occasionally some dragon race experts who were unwilling to be left out and ran out. However, all of them never returned, and there was no news of them. Apart from the Dragon Palace, the Chaotic Azure Ocean is the only place I've been to from the outside world. Han Fei. Well, I asked for nothing. I asked a noob. Han Fei was speechless. Han Fei's intuition told him that the Azure Dragon didn't lie to him. Since it didn't lie to him, It was possible that the Dragon Clan was indeed a race that lived in seclusion. He asked a few more questions about the location of the Dragon Palace, but the Azure Dragon couldn't tell him anything either. Han Fei couldn't help thinking of the old turtle's words. It was a person who lived from the age of gods, but when it first talked about the Dragon Clan, it said that it had never heard of the Dragon Clan. It didn't even know the Dragon Palace. If the old turtle had known this news, he would have told him long ago. Seeing that the dragon didn't know anything, Han Fei was not interested in the dragon race, so he lost interest in it. He said, "I'll take your blood essence. Give me that great dragon transformation technique. If everything goes well, this place will disappear soon. At that time, I will return your body to you." The Azure Dragon hesitated. It didn't know whether it should believe Han Fei or not. If the chaotic qi was gone, it would be gone. What it swallowed every day was the black-yellow qi. The chaotic qi was just a natural power, and the black-yellow qi was its main means of combat. The dragon transformation technique was nothing. It was nothing more than a transformation technique that could give him part of the power of the Dragon Clan. In a place like the chaotic Azure Sea, even if this person learned the dragon transformation technique, what else could he do except to show off in front of his house? However, what the Azure Dragon was afraid of was that even if it gave it the dragon transformation technique, Han Fei wouldn't let it go. Han Fei saw the Azure Dragon's concerns and he said, "I'm not interested in you. I think you don't have to play dumb with me. You should know where your body is, shouldn't you? Why are you suppressed there? I'm just telling you that the river of time here is about to collapse. The eye of the heavenly path is about to disappear. When the eye of the heavenly path disappears, you will leave this place." Hearing this, the Azure Dragon said in a low voice, "Human, you will pass the king's tribulation. You should know the importance of keeping your promise. If I'm deceiving you, I will turn into an extraterrestrial demon dragon and pester you." Han Fei curled his lips and said, "Do you think I'm so bored that I came here to lie to you? Isn't it nice for me to use the chaotic qi in your body? Why did I come here to tell you?" The Azure Dragon thought, that makes sense. If Han Fei really used its body, it really couldn't do anything about it. The Azure Dragon opened its mouth and roared, and something that looked like a blood jade fell in front of Han Fei. Han Fei reached out and touched it. Immediately, he felt that a brand new and unknown dragon language rushed into his head. The Azure Dragon said, "If you want to learn the dragon transformation technique, you must learn the dragon language." Han Fei thought that he had just learned a great technique. It turned out that he had learned the dragon language. Can't you just say something normal? When the dragon language was imprinted in his heart, Han Fei finally sensed the last message in the blood jade. After it was gathered in his head, it turned into a great technique. Dragon Transformation Technique, Unrated, Introduction. The Dragon Transformation Technique is an inherited combat technique that has no level. The Dragon Transformation Technique can temporarily transform part of one's body, or even the whole body, into a dragon. After performing the Dragon Transformation Technique, the user can borrow the power of dragons and gain the power of one dragon in the same level. To perform this technique, the dragon language and dragon blood are required as a sacrifice. Deduction. Unable to deduce effect. All or part of the body will transform into dragons, and the user's strength will be doubled. Disadvantage. The Dragon Transformation Technique will brand the user with the aura of dragons. Note: this is a basic inherited combat technique of the dragons and has extraordinary effect.